It is Ohio State getting the nod over Cincinnati, so the consolation prize for the Bearcats is that when they were revealed right now at number 6, that is the highest ranking in the college football playoff era for a team outside the Power 5 conferences.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
End around trick play, looking to pass, and into the end zone for a touchdown as Thornton goes to Snead. Tyquan Thornton with a touchdown pass to R.J. Snead.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
3rd and 8. Fired over the middle. Caught on the run by Cedric Wilson. And Wilson inside the 10, all the way to the end zone.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
A lot of window dressing here on 2nd and goal. Smith comes back into the backfield. They run Bohannon with blockers in front and into the end zone. Gary Bohannon.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. This nasty, dreary, wet, cold Wednesday. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I am okay, by the way. Everyone, none of you asked, but I'm okay after a night of the Rolling Stones. Mick, my good friend Mick Jagger, Eric Horton set me up with tickets, 23rd row on the floor, platinum section. Paul, you ever seen them in concert?
No, 2 years ago I was supposed to go, and then Mick had to have heart valve replacement surgery, and I was supposed to go see them in Houston, didn't get to see him, so I'm a little jealous of you.
Well, this is something where I got a call Sunday and said, hey, you want to go watch the Rolling Stones? I said, yeah, like March, April. How about Tuesday? That's kind of the way he rolls. Craig, have you ever? What's the best concert you've ever been in or been to?
Been in? I don't know. I'm not a big I haven't been to 100 concerts in my life. I'm not one of those people. I'm not a big festival guy. I'm not I haven't saved up 6 months to go to Bonnaroo and some of the stuff that I definitely know people who have done that. It's not my wheelhouse, but probably the Who back in Dallas in the early 2000s, which is the real Who. Got to see them at I think it was Reunion Arena at the time. Yeah, it would have been Reunion Arena at the time, and so that was cool. Not like some version that was 30 years after the fact and like there's one remaining member kind of thing. It was the Who, and so that was pretty awesome. That's a legendary band, and I definitely had fun as a young teenager. So, yeah, that's the one that pops into mind for me.
Well, this was amazing. I've seen them 3 times now. I saw them in Vegas, and then also they were at the Super Bowl, I think in Detroit, when Pittsburgh and Seattle played. I believe they were in Detroit. So there we are with that. And so last night, Armstrong, do we have the video? I want to get into the college football standings here in a moment, a couple other notes as well to get into. But I sent Armstrong, I don't know if this is any good, and we only can play a certain amount because of royalties. But look at the crowd. That's the stage. That guy's nuts right there. All right, so that's it. But that was like that all the way around. That crowd looks like a blackout at some college football game.
That guy Keith Richards.
Yeah,
just a little nuts.
My favorite story about him is, and he's in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, is Johnny Depp's father in those, and Captain Jack Sparrow's dad. And because you have to do like 1 million cuts of things just for blocking and cut, they had to like build him a little thing to lean on where it looked like he was.
Oh, is that right?
Standing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, those guys have been going on for longer than ever. Look at that crowd. Isn't it amazing? It's filled in. And by the way, on the top, now behind, obviously, the stage, no one was there unless they were just listening. But that was pretty cool. It did rain a little bit, but it never really was anything that came into play. So that was last night. So I was there and enjoyed it. And somehow I'm here this afternoon. All right, the college football playoff. We knew it was coming. Really, I think there's a couple of things I wasn't sure. I think maybe they have Oregon higher than I thought, which is good. But then again, there's an argument against almost everybody, but I think Georgia on this list. You guys, 254-339-1122 as well, and the text line and chat room are already going. Your thoughts?
The biggest complaint that people are going to have, and they shouldn't be surprised by it, is that Cincinnati got ranked 6th, and Reese Davis said it. I played it in the Open. That's kind of their consolation prize. But the committee just went and told you, here's what you think. Here's what we think about Cincinnati right now. And they're going to have to clear a lot of benchmarks. Now, granted, Ohio State and Michigan State will work itself out. Michigan, who's right behind Cincinnati, will work itself out because they still have to play Ohio State. So all that stuff will work out in the long run. And look, there's things that all have to happen around it. And who knows if any of those teams can keep pace. Look, if Alabama loses to Georgia in the SEC title game, then that's Alabama's 2 losses, and they're not getting it with 2 losses.
Who's their best win? Ole Miss?
Alabama, yeah, probably, yeah.
So there's always the argument, although, again, you have 1 and 2. So if they're 1 and 2 when they play each other in the SEC championship game in the college football playoff rankings, then why would they drop them out of the top 4 then? Are they basically now loaded up to have those 2 no matter what, unless they both stub their toe?
Are you talking about? I mean,
yeah,
I guess so.
Whoever's listening, yeah.
I wasn't speaking, so yeah, I don't know. Here's my deal with the playoff. I don't care. I don't care. I'm tired of this exercise. I think this is all dumb. I hate this dog and pony show. I think this is stupid. Why is this a sport that cannot figure out its postseason? Why is this the only sport that cannot settle on how to determine a champion and do it the right way to where it's not some exclusive country club? I mean, this is ridiculous. This is so dumb that we do this year after year. It's one of the best sports in the world. NIL comes thrown at them. They navigate it. And, hey, the sport takes a lick barely and just keeps on moving along like nothing ever happened. COVID, hey, they're back. College football's, as fun as it's ever been as far as, the games that we're seeing. So why is it they can't get this one thing right? Why? Why can't they get this right? And, to have to sit there, like I didn't watch that show. I wasn't about to hear the excuses, so I waited to just see what the main things were after the fact. And sure enough, you see the positioning going on. Sure enough, they pulled the whole who Cincy beat when you could turn around and look at teams above Cincy and go, well, who have they beat? It just doesn't make sense. I'm tired of trying to make sense of it, and I don't even want to make sense of it this early on. I'll wait a couple weeks and see how it shakes out before I start to really wring my hands. I'm not going to overreact too much to the first one. But I hate this little TV grab that they do every year.
We all hate it. Oh, well, not everybody. There's some people watching, but I know we don't like this process, but it's a part, as we know, of what's going on. And, I was surprised Oregon was 4. And there's that argument. Ohio State's right behind them. You could see them moving up because of who they have left. And then Oklahoma, unbeaten, at 8. They've got work to do in as far as the beauty contest. They need to drill a few people. They have the off week, then they have Baylor on the road. They also, of course, have Oklahoma State, both teams in the top 12 of the rankings, at least early, and as of this week, and maybe they're higher by the time they play at some point.
Another thing I wonder is, why do you do this for 6 or 8 weeks or whatever it is at the end of the season and money, but also it gives everybody weeks to question your credibility and what you're thinking, as opposed to just doing it once and having to deal with one little storm. It's hurricane season. I mean, week after week after week. And I mean, it's money, but is that show making that much money in the ratings that
it's not maybe so much making money. I don't know how much they're bringing in for the title sponsorship or whoever it might be, Allstate, whoever. But what it is it's also bringing attention to what they have put so much money into, which is owning college football.
Yeah, I guess.
So they're promoting. That's what they do. When you see a game on Sunday Night Football, NBC's not going to promote like a show on CBS. They're going to promote a show that either is about to launch or a show that they're trying to get more exposure or a special. That's what you do. You use your prime time eyes to promote something that's important to you.
Yeah, I would think that with a little bit of effort, they could find a show that would make them just as much money, or a thing that would make them just as much money. And
it's not about the show, though. It's about the stupid freaking rankings. That's the thing. Whether it's on TV or not, it's just a dumb process.
Yeah.
This process is dumb. To sit up there and, Cincy, we're not really sure who they've beaten, and their record's better than it was last year. The record's more impressive than what it was last year. So next year, what's Cincy going to go? Now we got to beat 3 Power 5 teams? Oh, well, the 2 of them aren't good enough. Okay, now we got to beat 4 Power 5 teams, and 2 of them have to be up to your judgment. And then, that's the thing. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, is the target's always moving. And you never know what the actual target to try and hit is. And, and you also know that if you are a certain school and sometimes in a certain conference, it doesn't matter if you lose. It simply does not matter. When we watch Alabama lose one regular season game, does that mean Alabama shouldn't be in the playoff? Absolutely not. But does it hurt them as much as it hurts everybody else?
Nope.
No. Why? Because we turn into this, you've seen Alabama. If you saw them, you're one of the best 4 teams. So why are we even playing the freaking games? Let's just put the 4 teams that you think are the best on the eye test, and let's just put them in there, because that's what you're going to get around to anyways. That's why this is so dumb to me.
And it would be Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and then maybe whoever else, possibly Oklahoma if they keep winning, or Notre Dame, and they would have the same teams and just get it. Now, so that's that. And a lot of you on the chat room, you're mad about Alabama too. You think Oregon's too high at 4. Some of you don't know why.
Well, their loss to Stanford doesn't even seem to count.
No, it doesn't. And yet again, their win against Ohio State does.
No, it does. And then you look at that, and it's like the Stanford thing just gets completely ignored. Well, then you'll hear, it was in overtime. And then you look around at another team, and they lost in overtime, and that doesn't matter that it was in overtime.
How about if they're doing this, though, Craig, that they're putting Oregon at 4 because they know it makes Ohio State look better down the road?
That's exactly why they're doing it. Because if they wanted to really look at Oregon, they would say what they said about 3-4 years ago in the playoff when they justified Ohio State's ranking because Ohio State had a couple key players injured. Mm-hmm. Well, is that what they're doing with Oregon then? Or we do the injury excuse, so then we're going to look around and do that for everybody else as well? Because that's a big box to open up. That's what I'm saying is that the excuses only matter in certain instances for certain people, and then they don't matter in other cases.
No, that's true.
And it just doesn't make any sense.
In fact, Cincinnati beat Notre Dame. If that was the only, if any of the other Blue Bloods were undefeated and had played nobody and had beaten Notre Dame, that would be propped up there and all the other games wouldn't be discussed. My question about Oklahoma, if Alabama, Ohio State, or Georgia, or Notre Dame had Oklahoma's record, even with the sometimes, my God, they could have lost a couple or 3 times, would they be 8?
No, absolutely not. I feel 100% confident in saying that as well. Absolutely not.
Here's a text from the 254. Agree with everything Craig is saying about the playoff. It's been years now. There should be no surprises on how the committee operates, but I'm tired of tuning in as well for the excuses from the committee. It's from Stephen in Nashville. Good afternoon, Stephen from Nashville, Tennessee.
But here's my thing. It's just make sense of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, just make it make sense because, I'm not, like, I probably sound like I'm all emotional over this. I'm really not. I'm just kind of fired up about it, but.
And wait till we talk about the NCAA in Oklahoma State, then we'll really get fired up.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, we will. But, I'm so frustrated as a lifelong college football fan that for years it was like, will there ever be a playoff? And then you got the BCS, and then we know that wasn't good enough after a while, and that turned into that dull Alabama-LSU rematch, and then it was kind of like, all right, we got to do something different. But this playoff is a total joke. Like, the whole exclusive part of it, I get. You don't want to have like this open invitational like March Madness. I know that it sounds like fun and chaos, but really that would be a disaster. That would be so stupid, and would just waste a lot of time, quite frankly. But there's got to be a better way than this 4-team dog and pony show where every week these yahoos get up on TV and put up their BS reasons for why they rigged it the way that they rigged it this week and why they set it up for 2 weeks from now so that they can make that move and put Ohio State or Bama, whoever they're setting the table for right now, because they are, whoever they're setting the table for. Like, this just should be the way champions are determined in my head.
I often wonder, and I don't want to besmirch the credibility of any of the people that are on this committee, but I'll say this. I know, like, when we talked to Phil Bennett, he would go and sit at R.C. Slocum's house, and they would watch film of games and, like, make notes. But I do think there's just people on the committee who obviously have stronger voices that are – oh, yeah, we've watched all the film. Really? You watched all the film and you still went Ohio State, Oregon? I mean, you just did, like, those names just came to you out of that?
Amazing, right?
But you didn't go, man, Cincinnati, really punched Notre Dame in the nuts. Okay. I mean, they just went in there and knocked him around. But
this is the Jeff Long and then Kirby Hocutt, and now it's Gary Barta from Iowa. But this, I saw, of everything I didn't see last night because I was busy watching the Stones, a little bit, this is about Oklahoma. This is what he said about Oklahoma. Just looking at who they've beaten, Kansas State and Texas Tech, both good wins. What the hell? Because of the score? Those aren't good wins. You should win, whether it's 17-14 or 50-20. But I saw, that's the only quote of everything I saw. I was like, what the heck? They're setting that up.
But if you were to replace Baylor with Oklahoma, is he saying that? Absolutely not. No, he's not saying that. He's saying, well, Baylor hasn't played anybody. Even he is. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what's so maddening about it.
I will say this,
is that that would be the case because the bias is so obvious. It's like they don't even try to hide it, but they just pretend like it's not there and that everybody's just going to be like, well, they're just going to be fooled or something. And we all see it and we all know it, and they just go about their business like this is some really trustworthy, honest, genuine process, and it's absolutely not. It's not in any way, shape, or form.
No, I agree. From Jeff Grimm, is this a super-duper chat? Is that $249? Wow. The head coach. Yeah. Jeff, God bless you. The head coaches of the top 4 college football playoff teams were on the Bama coaching staff in 2015. Smart, Saban, Mel Tucker, and Mario Cristobal.
That's insane.
That's insane. And is that, Jeff, thank you very much. Yeah. That's a monster super chat.
We might have to give Jeff some advertising for the month. Jeff, what do you got for us to push?
I gotta see that logo. Actually, Alabama deserves to be number 1, and there should be no questions about that. Thank you, Jeff.
Alabama's in the college football playoffs, Jeff. Roll Tide. No matter what they do the rest. And I think Jeff, in some ways, would, even though he loves Bama, I've seen him be very, very honest about sometimes who they are or what they have been as well.
But, Jeff, though, for real, thank you very much and appreciate you. And that's an incredible stat. That really is. That's just the greatness of Saban right there is what that is. But, yeah, and this is not even – this whole discussion right now is not even about a single team or even a conference for that matter. It's about more so the haves and the have-nots and how we just – like, here's the thing, is like next year we're going to be doing the same thing. And that's what I'm like worn out by is that we've been doing this for years now. And it's not a surprise and it's so predictable. And we're going to wring our hands and a bunch of columnists are going to write articles about how the little guy's getting snubbed. And then guess what? Those same guys are going to be the ones that are pushing for Ohio State to get in over Cincinnati at the end. You know what I mean? And guess what's going to happen? Ohio State will probably get in over, or whoever. Yeah. And it's just going to be... Fast forward to next year, and it's going to be the same teams with the same argument and the same lame excuses for why the smaller schools don't get the benefit of the doubt versus the bigger ones. And we're just going to keep doing this until they finally make a move and either expand the playoff and make it a real championship where real opportunities are out there and it's not just some invite-only thing, or it's just going to be this way. And I think eventually Maybe not people like myself who have always been diehards, but I see where this does turn away the future college football fan because it's ridiculous.
Well, I don't watch it, and it's my job to watch it.
There you go.
And
I'm talking about in general, the sport.
And the reason they need to go to 12, and I think that the argument against it is like, well, you'll get teams that'll beat teams, they'll have this, but it's about the one-off. Like, look at the World Series. The Braves won the World Series, and in July, you would have thought, there's no way this team, like their best players hurt.
Exactly right.
They had to do all this
or
stuff.
San Francisco wins 107 games.
Yeah, and then they look like, but that's part of the playoff. It's not about just the regular season. The regular season, what you earn to get there, but when you get there, you need to, it's about the challenge. It's about that moment.
Do you think the money that is being paid to the college football playoff, and then also, of course, on television, do you think this is almost like mafia money of who they want because they can't control who wins and loses on the weekend, but they damn sure can control, hey, but we don't want Cincinnati in there. We're paying $100 million for this thing.
I mean, I don't think it's like that dirty, it's like, they're laundering the money or anything. But in terms of setting it all up, I mean, I think as best as they can, they absolutely do. I mean, after all, it's not determined on the field all the time. It's determined in that little room at the Gaylord Hotel. Is that where they still meet?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the Gaylord and where is that? Dallas. Grapevine. At the Gaylord and Grapevine. In their little meeting rooms. That's where the 4 best teams are determined, not in the Big Ten championship game, not during the Big 12 regular season.
Or when Cincinnati won at Notre Dame.
Not Cincinnati and Notre Dame. No, it's determined in the Gaylord with refreshments and these committee members. And I think that's ridiculous. This is a sport that it's the greatest thing in the world. And again, I just go back to, I just don't understand how for this sport in particular, everybody else has been able to figure out a meaningful and reasonable way to crown their champion. And college football is the only sport that cannot figure out a way to justly crown their champion.
All right,
and it's just ridiculous.
Well, let's read a couple of texts. We don't need to respond right away, but I want to give people a chance to kind of educate us a little bit here from your perspective as well. From David, in fact, a 3-loss Mississippi State is ranked number 17. In his opinion, to prop up Alabama. All right, that's from David.
Well, they actually commented on that, and they brought up, there are the 3 losses, but then they beat, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And
they beat A&M.
Yeah, A&M, and I forget who all else it was. But, yeah, they do have a couple of nice wins, but, yeah, that was a prop-up. Absolutely
They beat A&M, and they beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
And obviously, again, that's good. What we're saying is, okay, that's from David. Let's see, from Diane, bring back the BCS. From Statman, great to see Baylor ranked number 12 in the first poll. If they can win out, who knows? But you know why they're ranked where they are? Because they had their non-conference game was a good one, even with the loss to a team ranked ahead of them. If they had not played Brigham Young, they might be 14 or 17 or whatever, because then they would go into that, even though they beat Iowa State, who's, of course, a pretty good football team, or they were at the time.
And here's the thing. Do you actually think they're watching Baylor as much as they're watching Alabama?
No.
And so
not until they play somebody.
What's this eye test we're talking about, really?
Yeah.
Because I don't trust for 1 second that the committee members are checking out, Baylor versus Oklahoma State as closely as they've been checking out Alabama versus, Ole Miss or whoever. I just don't trust that. I don't think that they're always putting these teams on an even pedestal. And, that's why there's a lot of excuses. I do think, to the BCS point, though, somebody brought up the idea of using the BCS to at least form the field, or using it in some fashion, and then, using a human factor alongside that. I'd be all for that. I don't think computers should be completely out of it, and I think in some cases they probably would make a clearer picture, but then use that as a tool to further set the field rather than this hand-picked beauty pageant that we do these days.
All right, from Brian off the top, it's the fix. Cincinnati getting the hose. Let me read about 4 or 5 of these. This is from Chris. The fix is in. Bama being so high is ridiculous. Best wins against Ole Miss. Let's see here. Oklahoma was fearing they would be 7th, but they even got put back to 8 behind Michigan. Cody Knight, it's the SEC Invitational. All playoff rankings were done to prop up the SEC teams. Look at it and look at their losses to make them better. Let's see here. That's going to be the Jerry Kill chat. I may get into that or not. I'm not sure, a little bit later on. Oklahoma doesn't have enough quality losses. Clearly, from Miles to be in the top 5. There's a couple of more that I want to get. No quality wins for Oklahoma. I mean, 4-4, 5-3 teams are best wins right now. That's from Scotty. Alabama being 2 is annoying but expected. Michigan State being ranked as high as they are is ridiculous. I'm an SEC or Mississippi State being ranked as high as they are, and I'm SEC homer bias at its worst. That's from Miles as well. Yeah. Let's go to one more.
Thanks for the honesty. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying like, hey, yeah, the screw job's kind of in, and this has been happening for years with the prop-up job. Like we've talked about this before. The prop-up job's been happening forever. That's why, I roll at the stats that sometimes would come out at one point of like, there's 7 teams in the top 25, which is an all-time. And it's like, well, yeah, because nobody ever leaves it. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever drops out of it. And then once they do, like 2 teams replace them. And we kind of talked about that. But if you really look at it, that's exactly what happens. They prop it up to where you could lose like 2 games in a row, and you actually have more top 25 wins than you had before you lost. It's amazing how that happens.
There's the graphic that Jack just put up with Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State. Thank you, Jack and Armstrong. Oregon at 4. I was surprised Oregon was 4. You knew, though, that Alabama and Ohio State would be lingering. Hell, Alabama's not lingering. They're sleeping in beds inside the house. And then, that's cute. Wake Forest is 9. They're not a blue blood. Paul, what's their most quality win?
Wake Forest?
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, like they're in the ACC. They don't have one.
Okay, they're 9, just behind Oklahoma. And then, like, Notre Dame's 10.
Like, here's the thing. Winning in the ACC right now is if you walked out in your yard and there were a bunch of fire ant hills and you went and stepped on them and ran away and saying, I'm the killer of all the fire ants. Like, that's not really that big of a deal.
From Case Sumbry, I'll notice the only reason Wisconsin's ranked, 5-3, by the way, also haven't been in the AP since week number 5, so people won't say SEC biased, but it's obvious.
Wake Forest hasn't played a single ranked team this entire year.
And they're 9.
Yeah.
And they're 9.
And they may
right
not.
Behind a team that in Oklahoma is 8-9-0, and yeah, they've struggled as well, but ahead of some teams behind them that if a logo or 2 changed with who they were, they would be ahead of 8 and 9 or others as well. And now you kind of set up the Michigan State, Ohio State survivor, right? That's going to be a team that looks like, unless somebody like Ohio State has the loss to Oregon, if they lose again, perhaps they'll drop from 4 or 5 to 5.5.
Okay, if NC State loses this week and they play FSU, so who knows? They probably won't. But if they lose this week, they'll drop out of the rankings, meaning that at the end of the year, before the ACC championship game, Wake Forest, if they will not have played a ranked team all year, and only one will they have the chance to, because Clemson's not getting in the rankings, more than likely. Boston College has fallen out, not getting back in without their quarterback.
NC State fell out, right?
NC State's 19 right
they're
now.
19.
They're
okay,
19,
so.
but they're not at a position where you can lose a game and stay in. So,
yeah, their best win is over a 6-3. Virginia team. That's their best win.
From JG, here's something that speaks positively, though, about G5 teams per the AP poll as of Halloween. 7 of the top 25 are G5 teams, 2 of which are undefeated, 1 of which is numbered top 5 in the country, of course, in Cincinnati, who had the win against Notre Dame.
I'm curious about this. I hear when we talk about and we hear the conversations about, expanding the playoff and why would it not be a good idea to have some of these G5s, meet as an 8 seed against a number 1 seeded Alabama, for example? Why not? Like, are we college football fans or are we not? Are we really saying we don't want to see a G5 team have the potential to knock off an Alabama? Like, why would we not want that?
Yeah.
What sport have you been rooting for this entire time? Upsets are as big a part of why college football is great as anything, so why would there actually be a movement from people to want to limit the postseason and not want to see a Cincinnati maybe get beat by Bama? And your reason is, well, because Bama would whoop them. Really? That's our basis for why this 14 playoff is good? Because that's the argument I hear, and that's the only one. Well, those games would just be blowouts. Well, I've seen Alabama play Blue Bloods and blow them out in bowl games. I've seen Alabama get blown out in a bowl game.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they didn't want to show up for that one, right? Okay. But here's the thing, and I don't want to just focus on them alone, but like they're the team. Like that's why they're always the first off people's lists, because they are the crown jewel. They are the example, and they are the ones that have been most involved in the playoff the entire time. But I really have seen that of, we don't want an 8-team playoff because Cincinnati would get blown out. Well, let's see. Why would we not want to see?
Well, Clemson,
imagine
Ohio
how cool
State,
it would be if they did beat them. And
Clemson,
what that would
Ohio
do.
State did. I mean, both of them have been, thrown in the wood chipper by Alabama.
Yeah.
And both of those teams are blue blood. So if they get blown out by this team is your measuring stick, so do most of the team. Like, okay, take the LSU team from 2019, blew out literally everybody they played.
Yeah.
So who was the team that was going to be the one that, like, you could have put a group of 5. It didn't matter. They're going to blow out everybody. So sometimes their team's going to blow out everybody.
It's the whole, like, hey, this could be really cool, but let's not even try. Well, why not try? Well, just because we already know what's going to happen. But do we?
Yeah.
Like, do we know what's going to happen? We don't. Because guess what? Guess why we don't? We never try it. Why don't we ever try it? Well, because then we'd have to invite the guys we don't want to the party. That's what it all comes back to. They don't want to open up the door to these other schools.
All right, we have given them what they want, although we had to discuss it.
We're not giving them shine.
We have to discuss it because we're a college football show. We'd be crazy not to. That doesn't mean we're going to spend the rest of the day on it, but a lot of you have been in the chat room. You were blowing that up before you even almost went on the air. As soon as it was available, pop. And a lot of you, thank you very much. Go back and forth. We'll pick and choose when we can. And also today, a couple of different occasions, we'll try to open the phone lines up as well. Coming up next, though, Ricky Thompson, former Baylor wide receiver. He does sidelines for Baylor Radio on their win against Texas and their game coming up on the road, the trap game perhaps against TCU. That plus much more from you. We'll hear on A&M today. We'll also check in as well on a couple of other college programs today. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Right now, Waco Custom Marketplace, their specials for the week, whether you want to shop for what you eat for dinner, what you have this weekend, or whenever you're going to tailgate. They tailgate at TCU at Amon Carter. And then, of course, in a couple of weeks, there's Oklahoma. So maybe you want to get product now that you could have for that game against Oklahoma, whether it's a game that's at 11 o'clock or 7 o'clock on November 13th. Chuck roast, that's more of something you're going to cook during the week or the weekend. It's kind of weather's getting chilly. And so chuck roast right now at $5.50 a pound. You want to put together like a crock pot with stew, you got the chuck roast. They have rainbow carrots on sale, Idaho potatoes, white onions, they're on sale. Tri-tip for tailgating, $4.50 a pound. Sirloin steak at $5.75 a pound. Bacon ends and pieces for $2.99 a pound, and 20% off all chili seasonings. I would love to be able to go home to a nice pot of chili for tonight with it being so chilly and so cool. Cajun sausage and German sausage, $3.75 a pound. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Bird Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Bird Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads. Crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Ricky Thompson has been with us almost every week throughout the 2021 college football season. And Baylor receiver and now sideline for Baylor Radio joins us on 365 Sports. Ricky, they took care of business. What did it say? How they didn't panic? They just kept chopping wood, whatever cliches you want to use. They kind of just stayed who they were, cleaned a couple of things up, and took care of a team with a lot of talent in Texas.
Well, they did. And Smoak, they had several chances to go the other direction in that game. I thought, particularly Gary Bohannon, the first interception that he threw, I thought was a really bad throw. He threw it right into coverage. There wasn't anybody there but White. Then threw another one in the first half. But you know what? Stuck in there. I thought the coaches stuck with him, too. They let him keep slinging the ball, throwing it downfield, made some great plays, great throws after that fact. Biggest drive of the football game, guys, to me, Texas comes out the second half, punches them in the nose, goes down, goes up 28-10, keeps the ball 6 minutes and 11 seconds, and the Bears go 75 yards and score and make it 21-17. That, to me, was the difference in the football game. If you don't go down and score right there, I think that was going to be a long day. So I think that was a key drive, a lot of chances for the Bears to go the other direction, and I don't care what Texas has given up in the second half to other teams. This was us. This was last Saturday. Those games had nothing to do with it. And that took a lot of guts and a lot of courage to hang in there and play. And I thought the coaches were a big part of that because they just stayed with the plan. And a couple of wrinkles down on the goal line created touchdowns, and then just hard, tough football on both sides of the ball from there out.
Rick, I asked Mac Rhodes this yesterday when we had him on the show, but the old cliche is teams take on the personality of their head coach. Well, Dave Aranda is even-keeled, to the infinity degree. I mean, absolutely not. Is that why they're not, like, the sequence at the end of the first half should have destroyed most college teams, where you driving the ball, look like you're going to do something great, turnover, then they've got a shot to score, and then you just get the ball right back and end any hope they had of getting points on the board before half.
Paul, exactly. I mean, you watch him during the game, and sometimes you want to go there and pinch him to see if he's okay. He just, man, he is really calm, and I'll have to admit, I couldn't do it. He is solid. I think you can see how the players like that. They feed off of it. They play hard for him, which is, to me, the most important thing of all, that they like him. They play for him. They play hard for him, and that calmness has an effect. It really does. Man, you're talking about the end of the first half. That could have crashed and burned. That a score there, 21-10. Then you score the first drive, the second half, 28-10. That's a big hole. So, yeah, that was huge. Just to overcome that turnover deep in our territory when maybe we could have just run out the clock, but to get one right back with the interception. And I tell you what, if T.J. Franklin doesn't get in the way, that might go all the way back. Mm-hmm. But he was doing what he was supposed to be doing. He was down the field hustling, trying to get a block.
Ricky, having the view that you do, have you seen Aranda's demeanor on the sideline change much from last year? I mean, certainly off the field, it is definitely been a scenario where he's opened up a lot more personally, and has been kind of different in that regard in a good way. But is the same as it was last year on the sidelines as far as when you see him?
Craig, I mean, if you just look at him, I think you probably couldn't tell the difference, but I just think he's grown into this job. Remember, last year was his first year as a coach, and what a rotten year to have your first year as head coaching when you can't have a spring training, when you can't have your normal practice procedures, when you can't have your normal recruiting, where you have a game like Oklahoma State where you have 38 players and coaches out. So, yeah, in that regard, I think he's changed some. I think he's more comfortable with the job. I think he's done a really good job of making adjustments, and I think the players feel comfortable with that and have the confidence that the changes they make are going to work. And, man, they sure executed. And I think that's a good sign that all phases are comfortable with both coaches and players and the plan that it's going to work.
Armstrong, do we have the T.J. Franklin comment? Do we have that? Can we look? Ricky, I'm going to put you on hold for just a second. I want you to listen to this in case you did not. This is a question to T.J. Franklin about how this team has kind of gotten into this mode from yesterday after practice. Armstrong?
To be honest, we really fell behind in the Tippo game with OSU. We didn't really practice it. We weren't really taking it very serious throughout the week. So I feel like that was really the hardest part about OSU for us. It wasn't really the environment. We go out in Baylor. We hear the same thing at McLean Stadium now every week. So I feel like just being able to be on top of the tempo and everything will be okay.
Was that a wake-up game for you guys?
Definitely. I think a lot of us took, being good players up until that point for granted, And then you just had that team that was just as good as us, kind of showed us, was kind of eye-opening for us, to see that. Just because we're good to somebody else doesn't mean we're good in the Big 12 conference.
All right, so a lot of times you hear about wake-up games or whatever, and you say you learned from a previous, but that apparently they did, because that's when Dave Aranda, they came back. There was a very bad game with penalties, remember, at the end of the game that cost them. Your thoughts about that and what T.J. Franklin just said as someone like yourself who played the game?
Well, I think it's very accurate, and I think it was probably good timing for that to happen. Remember, the game after that was West Virginia, and what happened there? I mean, we absolutely cleaned their clock, and this was a team that, a couple of weeks before that had lost to Oklahoma 16-13. Actually should have won the game. Remember, they had a bad snap to the QB, or they were going down for a field goal to win that game. So I saw a huge change in that game. I saw not only a change in the players and playing harder, I saw a change in the game plan. I thought we attacked it differently. We didn't sit back like we did against Oklahoma State. I think absolutely that not only changed the players' perspective, I think it changed the coach's perspective.
How hard is that for players, though, to sometimes be able to look inward like that?
Well, it's darn hard because you don't want to admit you got your butt kicked. And I think sometimes it takes that to really get you going. I mean, I had my share where we just went out and flat got whipped, and it makes you look inside and see why it happened. And I think at that point, I don't know if you guys agree or see it, but I think at that point, maybe we weren't sure exactly how good we were. We thought we were pretty good, I think. 4-0, you lose that one, go 4-1. But to come back and pound West Virginia like that, who we've had so much trouble with, I think that's when they really thought that they were a pretty darn good football team. And we go in against a ranked BYU after that. And I don't think there was any doubt in those guys' minds that they were going to beat BYU. I don't think they had any doubt.
So, Ricky, there were three major questions coming into this season. Who was going to be the starting quarterback? And it's been Gary Bohannon, and it seems safe to say that he's pretty good. He may be just, outside of Caleb Williams, the best quarterback in the Big 12 right now. There's a question about the offensive line, and Eric Mateos and Jeff Grimes have answered that question in emphatic fashion with this offense. And then there was the defensive line, and what do you think? I feel like Apu has certainly raised his game over the last few weeks. It seems like they're getting a good stride up front, and some guys are falling into place. And, Bijan Robinson only 43 yards on 17 carries. Are you kidding me? What have you seen from this D-line in terms of growing up over the course of this season?
Well, Craig, I've seen a lot. First of all, we know Apu can dance.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
That's been a good one. I've gotten a kick out of that. But I think they've exceeded. I saw in the first scrimmage at McLean Stadium this year, just joking around, I was telling those coaches I wasn't sure if Apu was playing defensive nose guard or fullback because he spent more time in the backfield than he did at the line of scrimmage. And I think that is getting to be more the case. And the thing that's overlooked more than anything to me about a good defensive lineman is sometimes they're not making the play, but if you look, they've got two guys on them trying to somehow keep them out of the way. And when they do, you've got Terrell Bernard on a blitz from about 10 yards deep, knocking an offensive lineman on his can because he's got to be man up on him because they've got two guys on Apu. You really said it. Every back they've played this year has been below their average, but to help Bijan to 43 yards, that kid Robinson is one of the top 2 or 3 backs in the country, and they absolutely shut him down. BYU, look at the running back there. He's averaged over 200 yards a game the next 2 games. So I legitimately think they're darn good, and I think this is a game. Football is a game where you have to prove it, and I think they've proven that. And one game doesn't prove it, but consecutive games or a season proves it. And I think the 3 things you mentioned, Gary Bohannon has proven it. He can overcome interceptions and still play a heck of a game. Our offensive line can run this wide zone not only effectively but dang good, and the defensive line with sacks and stopping the run has been outstanding. And don't forget this, guys. Injuries, health has been really, really fortunate so far.
Ricky, one more thing. They're about to play a team that is struggling without question. Gary Patterson out, although apparently he was back in the office helping game plan against a team he would rather lose a body part than to lose to Baylor, even with Briles no longer at Baylor. Your thoughts about that as a player? Do they understand? Is that even brought up? You put that in their head about trap game or, hey, there seems to be a team that's kind of even kill, even if they do play incredibly violent and emotional and fast. Does that come into play this week?
From our perspective?
Yes.
You're talking about, yeah. I think that the coaching situation is probably not something that comes up so much with players, but I think the fact that they're playing TCU does. I just think that's been ingrained into our guys. It's been passed down from one team to the next. That's not something that goes away. I don't think the coaching change will be much of a factor on our end, if any. But I'm just betting the fact that we're playing TCU is a factor. And I think they've proven that a maturity, which has been ingrained in them by Coach Aranda, will have them in a position where they'll play football, and I don't think the other factors will be there. Now, let's also say, too, that this TCU team has talent. Their talented, and they should be better than what they've been. So it's not a game we can sleep, and I don't think we will. I think they'll be ready to play.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate it. Ricky Thompson, former Baylor and Washington wide receiver, and also sideline reporter for Baylor Radio with us. He and J.J. Joe have given us some great insight as well on what is going on. When we come back, more of what you're saying in the chat room. Somebody said, well, Oklahoma struggled against Kansas in the road. Does everyone remember that Ohio State led Rutgers 13-6 at halftime? Rutgers. That's never brought up. And I'm not trying to defend Oklahoma. They have looked at times lethargic and like uninterested or not very good. But you want to talk about that game, but Ohio State led Rutgers 13-6 at halftime, and that has never been brought up. At least maybe I don't remember.
I think Oklahoma gets propped up more than any other Big 12 team. But at the same time, you know, I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to think of just all the ways that these things get massaged by the committee. Caleb Williams has kind of made a little bit of difference, no?
Yeah.
So was he the quarterback in those games?
In the Kansas game?
In the Kansas game, yeah. I mean, the Kansas game was obviously let down, but in those, like, you want to point to like the second game of the year when they struggled, or like that wasn't Caleb Williams, right? So we're basing Oklahoma's ranking off stuff that happened when the star guy who could be in the Heisman race, having only played half a year, has come in. So we're going to use that one Kansas game basically as the weight then, or games that didn't even involve the guy who's a starting quarterback. That's what we're going to weigh down Oklahoma from, right? That one performance against Kansas, basically.
Which is hypocritical compared to, like, well, Ohio State lost, but they had two starters out.
But there's the but. And so that's what I'm saying is, like, that's, okay, so if we want to look at every team that struggled at some point, we can look at every single team and say, oh, here's a moment or here's a game where they struggled. But I would say any holding down of Oklahoma because of stuff that happened, you know, Kansas, okay, I get that. But I also feel like that's just something that's going to happen. The moment we start saying, well, anytime a team struggles, we suddenly weigh that against them. Well, they still won the freaking game. Like, okay, they had a bad showing, but they still won the game. Do you mean to tell me if Oklahoma rolled back out against Kansas the following week with maybe an actual focus to them and maybe, you know, feeling like they needed to be impressive, do you think they could go out there and be impressive? I do. I think they could probably go win 60 to something if they really wanted to. So, yeah, it's just funny how struggles here matter, they don't matter here, and then that big old comma, but for some schools, it's a dumb game. It really is.
And Ohio State has one good win on the year, and that's Penn State, and that's very questionable at this point.
Yep. I mean, you can play this game all day. That's the thing.
I know.
You really can. You can go to every single team. And
every rebuttal they have, I can give you three that doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
All right, it's 3:49. We need to take a break to catch up a little bit. 254-339-1122. That's the text line's open. The chat room is. God bless all of you with what you're doing as well.
I want to say this about TCU. Baylor has no business losing this game. They have absolutely no business losing this game. I think TCU's got some talented players, but they have no business losing this game.
I agree. And we'll come back and discuss a little bit more of that and more on the games that still have to be played, including the ones this weekend. 365 Sports and Sick on 365 Radio. IdealMRI.com. They can do so much for you, including help you find out what hurts so much, where there is pain and why, and what is it. So you can tell your doctor because they can look at the images, they can look at the what is sent to them of the MRI. State-of-the-art technology MRI machine. That's the first thing. Great specialists in techs that make things so smooth. I get claustrophobic at times in an MRI machine. The Texas specialist that I went to at MRI, Ideal MRI, in the Central Texas marketplace, it was the most calm. I've been there 3 times, and every time I've had really nothing at all, where I've been spooked a couple of different times before. Number 2, they'll save you money, $497 or less every single time, and help you with insurance if you need it. And by the way, the average MRI is $1,100. And number 3, well, it's really easy to get. You just go online or give them a call. There's not a big, huge waiting room, long waiting room. They're going to get you in. They're going to get you seen. They're going to get the MRI. They're going to send it to you and your doctor and explain it. IdealMRI.com.
Get an early start. The Black Friday sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels with the new 2021 Ram 1500 Lone Star. Ram, the winner of the prestigious J.D. Power's initial quality. The 1500 Lone Star cab offers style and dependability for any job. It's the Black Friday sales event going on now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
A sagging rear end. It's ugly, it's embarrassing, and it's a sign you haven't been taking care of things. Hey, it's Jay from Pickup Outfitters, and we know you've seen it. A truck pulling an RV, a boat, or a big trailer, and the back end of the truck is lower than the front. In the industry, we call it a floppy jalopy, a scooty booty, or most commonly, badonkadonk down. It's not just an eyesore. When a truck's rear end is sagging, it can be dangerous because it affects the handling of the truck and can make driving unsafe. But there is a fix to this unsafe and unsightly condition. Take your truck to Pickup Outfitters for a little rear end suspension upgrade like Super Springs, Sumo Springs, or even an airbag suspension kit. Your truck will be safer, handle better, and most importantly, it will look better. People will start noticing the improvement to your rear end right away. And isn't that what it's all about? Get your rear suspension upgrade from the pros at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or check us out on the web at createacommotion.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, just a very short segment here. The NCAA today, and I want to have a segment where we just don't mention it, but we're going to tease it. If you're an Oklahoma State fan, if you're Mike Boynton, if you're the AD or anyone involved at Oklahoma State, you have to be furious with the NCAA. They denied their appeal for a postseason ban this year. Remember, Stephen F. Austin got hammered for some things, and they had some academic issues going on. North Carolina did too, but they couldn't do much about it, right? Because everyone else, I guess, on campus was getting a free pass as well with some classes. Here's the response from Mike Boynton. I'm disappointed, disgusted, appalled, frustrated, but somewhere in Indianapolis there's a group of people celebrating. They won. Our players don't deserve and shouldn't have to deal with this. It was a single NCAA violation. One player received $300. $300, one player. Not a recruit, not a future recruit, not a family member. A current player received $300 and in itself, because it was a self-reported by us, it's a secondary violation. So the punishment is you pay the money back, you serve your suspension. He did, and you move on. It's no wonder that nobody trusts the NCAA. They don't have to come and do this. Questions answered, answer questions and talk to kids and talk to parents.
Yeah, this is what we're going to start seeing from coaches now, I think.
Has LSU been punished yet?
No.
Kansas?
No.
Some of the other, Arizona?
Arizona, I believe. I don't think so. Not to anything that I remember. But
North Carolina had massive academic fraud. We know what was going on, but again, they couldn't quite do anything about it because apparently it was offered to all students, whatever the fraud was, right?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And I really like Mike Boynton.
But this is so stupid. This has nothing to do with the fact that they had a coach involved in the Adidas thing. Like, you would have thought, like, on the surface, without looking at what the actual violation is,
right,
the NCAA can say Oklahoma State is a postseason ban, and people can go, oh, yeah, I saw that documentary. They had a coach that was involved in the Adidas scandal. That's what this has got to be about. No, that was that.
Do you think, it's Lamont Evans, do you think that because they know they're not going to do anything about the Adidas scandal, so they'll do this?
I mean,
knowing
maybe.
if they do anything about Oklahoma State Adidas, they have to also do something with Duke, or they have to do something with Kansas.
You're giving them a lot of credit for thinking this much through, because they're clearly not. They're clearly not thinking any of that through. They're clearly just, making decisions as they come because, as it's pointed out in several articles now that have been written, and kudos to Mike Boynton for airing his opinion and fighting for his team and for his program. I think he raises a great point. As it's been mentioned in some articles, this is the first time that anybody so far has been able to find, and so far Oklahoma State looks like they've done some research into this because they're the one that brought this up. It's the first time that they found that somebody received a postseason ban despite the fact that there were no major, huge infractions. It's never happened before that somebody got booted out of the postseason for paying a player $300. So disgusted and appalled, I think those are all very fitting words. I mean, no one knows what the NCAA really does. Like, none of us really know. We've talked about it at length. We talked about how it took 4.5, 5 years for them to make a decision on the Baylor case that when all was said and done was one big just nothing burger. So why it took 5 years, I have no idea. The big scandal that was to be with the college basketball, coaches, that's turned into a big fat nothing burger as well.
Like, if we don't talk about it, let's just let it disappear.
With the NCAA, the hype is all that it's about, and then the actual result's not a big deal. And then here, there's not even a whole lot of hype surrounding it, and here comes their atom bomb of a decision. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Kind of like the college football playoff being as much of a mess as it is, and why it's so curious that it's so hard for this great sport to find just a regular postseason format to go by. Like every other sport in the world that doesn't have this conversation every single year when it comes to crowning a champion. Every single year, the NCAA makes some stupid decision, and we go, well, we still don't know what they do exactly. And next year they'll make some, non-decision on some egregious sounding thing. And then when it comes to some volleyball player getting $150 for some reason, that team will be out of the it never makes any sense, quite frankly, with them.
No, it doesn't. From Alex, by the way, on the previous discussion we had about TCU in the off week and the Jerry Kill, now the interim. Rival games, you throw out everything. I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
6.5 is a lot for a likely pissed-off TCU squad, if you ask me, but sick 'em, that's from Alex.
I believe that's gone up a bit. I don't think it was that high initially. I may be wrong. I may be thinking of another game I might have looked at, but I thought it was lower than that a couple of days back. But regardless, with a rivalry game, you toss it out the window, especially one like this where the Frogs are probably going to rally. I mean, I think there's just as good of a chance that they rally or that they completely no-show. That's what they did last week against K-State. They no-showed. So do they...
I think you're going to get their best, whatever that best might be, enough or not, I don't know. But you can't give them opportunities and play sloppy.
I think you have to expect that they are going to play their very best, and you prepare that way. And that's what I'm saying. In my opinion, if Baylor plays as though TCU is going to play their absolute best game and Baylor responds in kind, they will win this game, and they will win it convincingly. So, you've got to be aware of that, but there's still no reason they should lose this game.
When we come back, we've discussed the college football standings. Dave Bartu from College Football Matrix, his thoughts about how he breaks down some of that. That's next on Sikkim 365 Radio and Sikkim 365 on 365 Sports YouTube.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot going on over at Richard Carr. We've talked about the supply chain challenges across the country and across the world right now that have made cars and trucks hard to find. Well, GM announced that while production has slowed, cars and trucks are coming, so now's the time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. You can drive a new car or truck sooner when you get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list, and you can get your car or truck first as they arrive. If you need a pickup, get the best. Get a Sierra from Richard Carr. The ideal combination of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury makes Sierra the best truck on the road. If you want a roomy SUV, consider the Buick and the Buick lineup of SUVs, which offer the size and versatility to fit every lifestyle. Or maybe you want the ultimate combination of sophistication and power of a new Cadillac XT6 or the Cadillac Escalade. Cars and trucks are coming, so call or contact Richard Carr online with what you want and let them get you on their inbound vehicle list today and get your vehicle before anyone else. And if you're looking to save some money, not have to wait and get into a vehicle today, then Richard Carr is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. They've all been through a 172-point inspection, and with dozens of lenders, they want to say yes when others say no, as 100% credit approval is always the goal. Richard Carr, your local hometown dealership for those of you here in the Central Texas area. Give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Richard Carr, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICKM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICKM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf, they've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Marcus Jones may say, guys, if they kick it to me, hold the phone. And they're doing just that. He's going to take it 2 yards deep. Look at this. He had 8 career kick returns for touchdowns. Make it 9. Marcus Jones.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We're going to hear from Dave Bartu here momentarily. CFB Matrix. How all these things are happening and his thoughts about the college football standings. By the way, Nikki Cowan will open up her debut in her career. They had an exhibition. They play West Texas A&M. That game tonight, 7 o'clock at the Farrell Center. So that's coming up tonight as well. The men will drop the banner a week from Friday. I heard that Mac Rose was talking with you guys about that as well. We did mention this kind of in passing, but the Braves polished off the Astros last night, 7-0 in Houston. Smoked them. And so Atlanta wins their first title since 1995.
Before we get to Dave here, my favorite part of that was when the Braves fans who had way worse seats up top were doing the tomahawk chop, and the Astros fans got so annoyed by it, but don't get your ass kicked at home. Yeah. I mean,
it's been a weird playoff.
Yeah, I'm interested now, and we can probably talk about the game more later. But yeah, we'll go to kind of a whimper to end the incredible World Series, but just a blowout like that. But yeah, congrats to the Braves. Great for them. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens with that Astros roster now, as far as free agency and, what happens with the Carlos Correas of the world and those guys. So we will see. But yeah, congrats to the Braves.
All right, Dave Bartu, we've had him on before, does a great job covering all sorts of things, college athletics. CFB Matrix joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Dave, thank you very much. We have discussed the standings. We think it's just kind of a look at us. And a lot of times it doesn't seem to make sense, but you break down and crunch a lot of numbers. Let's look at the 4, their first 4. Did they get those, in your opinion, based on you crunching numbers? Did they get them right?
Well, and you got to understand the numbers that we crunch are the ranking rules that Bill Hancock pushed out in 2014. So this is my opinion. This is what Hancock says. When you're on the committee, here are your rules to rank teams. So you don't have a lot of freedom at the committee. That's why what they have done is the same thing for 8 years. Now, the only thing they did different in the top 4, based on the other 49 rankings that have happened in the past, one thing was different. Georgia was exactly where they were supposed to be. Alabama was exactly where that resume was supposed to be. Michigan State was supposed to be at 4. The resume at 3 was Cincinnati. Cincinnati got dumped down all the way to number 6. But if you look at that first 4, based on what everybody's done in the past with the committees and what Hancock said are the rules of ranking teams, whether you agree with it or not, that's too bad. The only thing that was really out of place is Cincinnati not being at number 3.
Dave, are you a guy who's in favor of the 12-team playoff?
No. Hate it.
Why?
Hate it. 2 reasons, specifically, actually 3. One, I don't think we need to go to 17 games to win a national title. I think it's too many. I'd like to cut it back 1 game at least. All right? I don't like buys. I think it is a massive disadvantage to have a bye, just like I think it's a massive disadvantage for a Group of 5 team to be in there when they haven't had the physicality of a Power 5 conference, okay? And that's basically my third thing. I don't think the Group of 5 belongs in there. I used to, but look, they just took 4 of their 8 best recruiters, which weren't that good to begin with, and pulled them out of there, and the G5 just went out and watered itself down with 4 more FCS teams. I'm good with 8. I'm good with reducing the committee in terms of its power. I'm in favor of expanding the committee to also include 1/3 analytics, 1/3 line makers, and then just go 5 conference champions. That way there's one route into it. Here's a little twist about the 3 wild card spots, because everybody's always complaining about what? Non-conference scheduling. So how about the committee ranks the top 3 available non-conference schedules to be the 6, 7, and 8 team?
Huh. Man, you threw some stuff at us right there, because we haven't had you on about this in quite some time. I'm glad you reached out. We both reached out yesterday, and we're chatting back and forth. Dave Bartu, CFP Matrix, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Yeah, Dave, when it comes to Cincinnati, where did they go off course compared to what they're supposed to do, as you said?
Well, the resume, because we just what we do is we look at it. We have team A, basically team 1 through 130. We don't even have names on our spreadsheets, okay? So we can't, when we do this, it is just with teams, and then we figure out who the teams are later, okay? So Cincinnati, their resume, so they're 8-0. Their strength of schedule, now the strength of schedule we use is the one Hancock said that they primarily go to. And it's a really dumb one, and I hate it, but it's what they use. And Cincinnati was 111. They had 2 quality wins, 1 top 25 win, and they had excellent game control. They had the second best game control. That's what got them to number 3, okay? So it didn't matter if Baylor or Cincinnati or Oregon or Wisconsin had this resume, we pegged it for number 3. I 100%, the entire top 25, there's only one bias in this whole thing, and that is we hate G5s. That's it. There's nothing else. I mean, Baylor's at 12, we had them at 12, okay? Notre Dame's at 10, we had them at 10. Oregon was ahead of Ohio State. Oklahoma's at 8, that's where we had them. There is one thing that the committee did here, and the message is loud and clear. No G5s in this party, baby. You're all out.
Wow. Even before the expansion, even before they watered down G5s with the teams joining the Big 12, among others?
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Like the G5s are out. Like this year, G5s are out, even if Cincinnati runs so they're done?
No, they look, back in 2014 when the rules came down, we looked at what they were saying. I've said G5 has been out since day 1.
Okay.
There's no path. There's no path ever in this. Now, I shouldn't say never, because weird things happen in sports, right? That's why we play the game. But when you look at these numbers, not just today, not just last night, but every single ranking, it's stacked against them 100%, because a top 25 win is really critical. It's hard to get top 25 wins when you're in a lower conference, because there's not many top 25 teams. So it's really, really hard to do that. And so it's been stacked against them from day 1. I'm saying the only thing the committee did last night, they stuck to the schedule 100% in the top 15. And then instead of adding top 25 teams at the bottom, they added 4 prop 25 teams. Mississippi State, North Carolina State, Minnesota, and Pitt are prop 25 teams. They prop up teams above them, okay? And the teams that are prop 25 teams, they took a G5 place. Look, you look at our calculations, 1 through 14, we missed 1. Cincinnati was out of place. Everything else we did was in exact order before the committee even came out. And then it started falling apart. And the UTSAs, your Louisianas, your Coastal Carolina, your SMU, they all got thrown out in favor of prop 25 teams.
So, Dave, let me ask you this in regards to the G5 teams. I mean, I like your playoff idea and the reasons why you stated that. I'm for expansion. It doesn't have to be 12. I mean, 8 sounds good the way that you propose that. We all know that the Power 5, so to speak, get the benefit of the doubt. So What's the purpose of, the Power Fives? Like, in your opinion, if they're not going to matter, like, what direction should we head to where this is actually like a real contest and not some, beauty pageant that they're faking every week?
Well, I don't see it as a beauty pageant because I gave you the formula. I can come on your show before it happens to tell you what's going to happen. We've never missed a Final Four, top four, in order, and there's only 8 variables. So I really don't believe it's a beauty pageant. I just believe the committee is confined. You got 13 very busy, very powerful people that have to sort 30 teams in 2 hours. You have to have some sort of structure to get that done,
right?
And we've cracked it, okay, But in terms of the Power 5 versus a G5, the Group of 5, I really believe we all know it comes down to money, right? I mean, it really just comes down to money. I think the Group of 5, regular season, do we really, really watch and care about Group of 5 upsets? We really don't, right? I mean, the regular season for the Group of 5, for the players and coaches and the fans, is important, but in terms of eyeballs, it doesn't mean that much. So to me, if I'm Group of 5, let's go strike a deal and make a 16 or 32 team playoff like the FCS, because the regular season doesn't matter. Now, I'm somebody who wants the Power 5 season to matter. I want Baylor beating Oklahoma and making it an upset and somehow keeping Oklahoma out of the playoffs. I don't want 12 teams. I don't want 16. I don't want to beat Oklahoma and watch them go into the playoffs regardless of what happens. So I want to keep the regular season relevant and good for college football. I don't want it to be the NFL. So to me, I'm good with the 8-team max. I just think the Group of 5 needs to go make a 16 or 32 team playoff, and that's how they make their money.
Since you know the Final Four, tell us now who's going to be there.
I don't know that. But
I know.
We only have a handful of teams that have control of their destiny, right?
Sure.
Right now, in terms of winning out, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan State, Alabama, and Georgia. They win out. They're in. Period. Any one of those 6 teams, they're in. Everybody else needs some kind of help.
So that's just predetermined. That is just the way it's set up. That because of what they've done up to this point and who they have left on their schedule.
Who they have left. And if their schedule pays out properly. Gosh, thank you so much for bringing that up. Because so many people are always like, well, what if this team does this? I don't know. What else happened? Because this is all in motion, right? Quality wins count. So right now, a Baylor quality win, let's say that team's 5-4 and they lose next week. If they're 5-5, guess what? You lost the quality win. It's out the door. So Oregon needs Fresno to stay in the top 25, because if Fresno falls out of the top 25, guess who loses the top 25 win? Oregon. So all these things are in motion.
Okay, you said Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State. You say Michigan State?
Michigan State, right, because you look at their remaining schedule, it's backloaded, right? There's a bunch of top 25 teams there. So Oklahoma has Baylor, which is one of the most balanced teams in college football, amazingly, totally under-talked, it pisses me off, and they got Oklahoma State, okay? So you're going to get 2 quality, if they win, let's just assume they win. They get 2 quality wins there, they're going to get 2 top 25 wins there, they're going to go to the conference championship game, and they're going to pick up probably 3 more points. A quality win, another top 25 win, and a conference championship. This is where Baylor and TCU screwed themselves. Actually, Bob Bowlesby did it by not listening to the committee rules and giving you guys a championship game. Championship game's critical. Same thing with Ohio State, Michigan State. They win out. They're going to both pick up 3 more top 25 wins, 3 more quality wins. That's going to put them in there. The really big one is Alabama, Georgia. If Alabama loses, they're done. Okay, but if Georgia doesn't win out and go 12-1, they still have enough top 25 wins and game control to get themselves into the playoffs.
So if Alabama runs the table, and that means also, and again, there's going to be other upsets along the way. There will be a few more. But if Alabama runs the table, then beats Georgia, they're in. And Georgia, there's a good chance if they lose that game, they're going right back in anyway. They're not going to drop out of the top 4.
No, they're not going to drop out of the top 4 because they'll still have enough top 25 wins.
Yep.
Their game control should be off the charts. They lead the country in game control. And for everybody listening, game control is a fancy word for margin of victory. See, the playoff committee, they can't use margin of victory. So their fancy word they use for it is a quarterly system. It's called game control. But just this is why you style points? No such thing. Just blow people out. That's what it is. It's margin of victory. Let's stop beating around the bush on that. So Georgia is still going to be in there because their strength of schedule based on the committee strength of schedule ranking, and their game control is still going to be out of this world even with that one loss.
Dave, you mentioned the G5s and how they factor or don't factor into this. What are your thoughts on the teams that are joining the Big 12?
Don't look at them as they are now. Look, I sent Bob Bowlesby a proposal every single year. I made somebody at the Big 12 sign for it because I wanted them to understand. Because remember how they always talked about expansion? Oh, we don't want to water down our conference, right, with inferior talent. Mm-hmm. So stupid and short-sighted. And here's why. Look at Utah, Louisville, and TCU. Okay, when they were G5s, TCU recruited in the 90s. Now they're in the Big 12. They recruit in the 25s and the 30s. Utah used to recruit in the 80s. Now they recruit in the 30s. So like Cincinnati right now is the number one G5 recruiter. All right, and they're in the 50s. You know what they're going to be in 4 years in the Power 5 if the Big 12 is still in the playoffs? They're going to be your number one recruiter. That's right. I'll say it right now. Cincinnati in 4 years will be the Big 12's best recruiter. And if they'd have done this 4 years ago or 6 years ago, Cincinnati would be their number 3 recruiter right now and in the top 25 in recruiting. UCF is going to be a top 30 recruiter. Okay? Normally they're in the 60s. It's going to get cut in half. So all of these teams that are coming in, I don't know what's going to happen with BYU because their admission and all of their stuff, it's wonky, okay? But they should still get better players, and they perform above talent anyways. But the other 3 teams, do not look at them in a vacuum right now because that membership into the Power 5 to have access to that playoff is going to cut their average recruiting class ranking in half, almost within 4 or 5 years.
That has been something that I've tried to explain, not who they are now, but who they could be or will be, and some just aren't able to fathom that. And I agree with you on that. Yeah.
It was laid out. Utah and TCU showed everybody exactly the power of the Power 5, and nobody wanted to listen, and it still pisses me off about what could have been.
All right, go ahead, Paul.
Just a quick question on BYU, Dave. I mean,
on who?
On BYU.
Okay.
Because you said they're wonky. Would their ability now compete for a national championship and conference championships and all those things that come with being in a conference and being in a Power 5 league? They have a corner on a certain type of athlete, and that's Mormon kids that are going to come there. Would they now maybe rope in some of the Mormon kids that might be better that want to go play somewhere else because they want to win a national title and don't go to BYU?
Bingo. Exactly it, right? The only question is how many of them are there? Now, Utah is a vastly underappreciated state for talent. Look at the youth. Utah youth pull tons of low recruit NFL draft picks, okay? So how many of those kids are Mormon? Got no idea, right? That's why the biggest enigma in this move of all the 4, I know what Cincinnati's going to do. I already told you what I think they're going to do. Told you what I think UCF's going to do, okay? What I don't know is BYU. BYU's top-end recruiting is in the high 60s, okay? If they can cut that in half and be in the high 30s, low 40s, that's the equivalent of Oklahoma State. All right, that's about where they would be. That's Oklahoma State level talent right there. And with and the average age of their guys, it's a really old team with the missions and everything. A lot of 24, 25, 26-year-olds. It makes a really, really big difference in football results for them. So that's why I think it's a really big question where BYU is going to be in 4 years. In fact, we'll have the answer in the first 2 years where they're going and where they're going to land.
Dave, this is a question from our chat room, and I think you mentioned it, but he wanted to clarify it. I was going to ask the same question. So you're saying that the college football playoff, dropping SMU and Houston out of the mix, that hurts Cincinnati for obvious reasons, and yet Mississippi State, Wisconsin, among others, are being propped up to help those teams who are in the mix at the top of the poll, correct?
That's exactly what I believe, 100%, because Mississippi State, by the formula, doesn't belong here. Wisconsin does. Okay, Wisconsin's where they're supposed to be. We had them projected at 22. I think they were 21. All right, but Mississippi State, dude, their scoring efficiency is in the 70s on offense and defense. Yeah, they've beaten 3 top 25 teams, but one of them is a top 25 team. North Carolina State is 81st in offensive scoring efficiency. They're not very good either. So, no, I think Houston, well, we didn't have SMU in the top 25. I'll tell you the teams that I think got jobbed by being in the bottom 10. Penn State, who nobody's talking about, has 3 quality wins, toughest strength of schedule in the top 25, and a top 25 win. Penn State got screwed. Houston got screwed. San Antonio, Texas San Antonio, Louisiana Lafayette, and Coastal Carolina. Screwed, and replaced by a bunch of teams that prop up the top 12.
And, gee, what do all those teams have in common? They're not in certain conferences. Yep. Hey, Dave, since you mentioned Baylor and their balance, just get your thoughts on what Dave Aranda's been able to do. Obviously, the defense was kind of already in place last year. They're just, improving with experience, but the offense flipping over to Jeff Grimes and Eric Mateos and company has obviously done wonders for a unit that was just really bad last year in the COVID season. Your thoughts on Aranda and the balance of the Bears?
Oh, my God, they sucked last year, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
I mean, unwatchable. And I was like, when Dave hired Larry, I'm like, oh, my God, Dave, you've done everything right except hire that guy. He is a one-hit wonder, man. and true to form, his offense sucked. Okay, but here's the brilliant part of it. They fired him, right? I mean, he got rid of him, and that took some big guts because it costs money, and usually you don't do that. I mean, it's COVID year. He could have made every excuse to keep Larry Fedora. Every excuse, and he didn't. And he went out and got Grimes, which I was like, ugh. I didn't think it was that great of a hire, but I felt it was a massive improvement. So if I'm a Baylor fan, I am jacked up that Aranda had the guts to make the call that quickly and make a solid upgrade change. Now, was I expecting this kind of offense? Oh, hell to the no. No. I mean, it's a top 20 offensive scoring efficiency. Look, Aranda, when he got to LSU, I tweeted that he is going to leave LSU with a national title. I felt he was that good of a defensive coordinator. He's top 3 in the last 10 years. He's freaking brilliant. But the fact that he made that change on offense and what he has done in offensive and defensive scoring efficiency at Baylor in less than 2 years is nothing short of remarkable. There is no Bear fan on earth that can be dissatisfied with where that program is today. And if they are, you are never going to be happy, bro.
Yeah, I agree. We had somebody just say this, that he thinks that you went from slandering the group of 5 to then complimenting the group of 5. What you were saying about the group of 5 was that their upsets just don't get a lot of attention.
They just don't have a chance, is what he's saying.
You're just being honest, and you're also saying that that's kind of the way they wanted it set up, that Bill Hancock wanted it that way, correct?
Right, I think that's the way it was designed.
Yeah.
Right, I don't hate them. Well, I hate everybody equally, right? It's just easy to be pessimist. When everybody's an optimist and crazy fans, if you're a pessimist, you're probably going to be more right than wrong. But it's nothing against the group of 5, but let's talk reality, okay? And the bottom line is, Tulsa upsetting SMU is nothing like, let's say, Baylor beating Oklahoma at home. It's not even close. The eyeballs aren't there. The memory isn't there. We kept them out of the playoff isn't there. It just isn't the same, and it's nothing against them. It's just the way our emotions and the eyeballs and the money flows, and we've got to be realistic about it.
Yeah. All right, Dave, great stuff. I'm glad we connected and glad we could get on. You've got the chat room going nuts, as you can imagine, with some of your opinions, but also with basically your truth serum of why it's set up the way it is.
Hey, look, my bread and butter is where I work for coaches, football ops, athletic directors. We have an exclusive analytic partnership with just about one team. We only do one team per division. And so I am used to telling people the truth and giving it to them straight by the numbers. And in fact, everybody in your chat room, I will talk football with anybody. I love everybody. I love everything about this. You hit me on my text line, 971-217-8419. I will do everything I can to get back to every single Baylor Bear listener out there.
All right, 971-217-8419.
8419. That is the matron's hotline, and I will chat. Be nice, okay? Be nice, folks.
You can
don't be a jerk.
David, you said Baylor, and that's where our bread and butter is. But we have got people in this chat room.
Oh my God.
I mean, all over the place, all over the place.
Since Texas and Oklahoma story in late July, our YouTube channel has exploded, and it's been amazing. So we have fans all over, the Cincinnati fans, Brigham Young fans, all the way to UCF, and then everyone else in between. So, and sometimes what we learn about YouTube is that the shows replay themselves, and then you'll start getting like comments on replays. Like it'll pop up. I'm like, I didn't even know. I didn't know. I had to learn that. It's great. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, I know you got to probably run too, but your thoughts, I asked you about the schools joining the Big 12, and I'm sure you've talked about this at length elsewhere, but since we have you, what are your thoughts on Oklahoma and Texas' future in the SEC?
Welcome to hell. I've been careful what you wish for. I get it. Look, it's an arms race. They wanted the money. SEC wanted the money too. I mean, the Big Ten schools were making more than the SEC schools. People don't understand the eyeballs and the money Big Ten makes. The alumni base is massive and rich. And so the SEC, the only two teams they could get that would expand their money per team. You got to understand it. Everybody's like, well, why don't you take these teams? You'll make more money. Right. No, because you water down everybody else's money, right? As a whole, they make more money, but per team, they don't. The Oklahoma-Texas combination was the only combination available that all 14 SEC teams could make more money at. That is it. Bottom line, nothing else. And Oklahoma and Texas were falling so far behind because of SEC and Big Ten money. I believe 100% that is the only reason why they made the move, was simply for the payday. No ifs, ands, or buts, and it's the only reason. There is no other reason for 14 SEC teams to accept it. Think about it. Oh, yeah, Arkansas, cool. Why don't we invite 2 more top 10 recruiters to kick our ass? Awesome. Yeah. What am I getting for it? You get an extra $20 million a year. Yeah, bring them over. Cool. We'll just be good in everything else. That's all it is. Right? That's all it is.
No, it makes perfect sense. Yep, absolutely.
The chat room loves and hates Dave Bartu for Truth Serum. Hey, man, thank you, Dave. At CFB Matrix, if you want to follow him, if you have not. Great stuff. We'll have you again soon. Dave Bartu, CFB College Football Matrix. And, yeah, some of you are like, well, he said 1 minute he hated a team, the next minute he probably – no. What he was saying is this is what the college football committee, that Bill Hancock set this system up.
Well, no, it's very clear.
Yeah, which we've all kind of known anyway.
But, I mean, he made it very clear, actually. The College Football Playoff Committee, as much as we want – and, I use the term, like, dog and what do I use?
Pony show.
Dog and pony show. That I mean that more for, like, this whole charade of the playoff show and them going through all these different things. But as he said, the committee itself – isn't in the room like just randomly coming up with ways, to say this or that. They're going based off of the guidebook basically that they were given, and that's what it results in. And he basically was just saying he doesn't dislike G5 teams. That's not what he's saying. He was just saying they have no shot whatsoever. He's just being brutally honest about it. And you look at the playoffs. I mean, is he wrong? Do y'all remember any G5 jumping and making a lot of noise, even making the playoff? Not me. So that's all. He's just being just honest about what the playoff really is. It's a set of circumstances that the committee goes off, and then it's no G5s allowed. Is basically what it is.
We will get more into that later on, but coming up next, Olin Buchanan covers Texas A&M. They've got a pretty interesting game coming up with Auburn coming off their win against Ole Miss. Olin will join us. He's next from Texags.com on Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, come by, let's be friends. I was on the phone, in fact, actually traded a couple of text messages with Ted Teague, and here they go again with what they have coming up, including a Black Friday sales event at Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, including going on right now as they've started the month of November. The new 2021 Ram 1500 Lone Star, the winner of the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. 1500 Lone Star Cab offers style and dependability for any job. Black Friday sales event going on right now with that specific vehicle, so take advantage of that. And also the 2021 Ram brand received that first place in prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator rated first among all mid-sized trucks. Get early start on Black Friday sales event. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the two jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This segment with Olin Buchanan of TexAgs.com is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, with over 40 group exercise classes Monday through Sunday on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
All right, Dave Bartu's got all of you lit up on the chat room and text line as well. And now we check in on Texas A&M. The Aggies, of course, had that great win against Alabama. They've kind of steadied the ship, and now Auburn coming in for the weekend as well after their win against Ole Miss. Should be a heck of a game. Olin Buchanan. Olin, they have steadied the ship. The win against Alabama was shocking, and that's been a while. But what I thought I learned about them was not that game, but was how they then handled that game and how they have just kind of taken care of their business ever since. Is that a sign of a mature football team?
Yeah, I think that's fair, David.
I'll admit I was shocked when they beat Alabama. Now I did take A&M to cover. I thought they were better than they were showing. But I never thought they'd beat Alabama, and they played so well in that game. And then I thought, maybe they're going to be in for a letdown going on the road against a Missouri team that, that they feel like they're better than. And they got out to a 21-point lead and kind of took the foot off the gas. Then they were very dominant against South Carolina. Now I understand those two teams, Missouri and South Carolina, are not, elite by any means. But, if you're a good team, you're supposed to control inferior teams, and that's what they've done. So we've known all year, or we felt all year, that A&M was good enough to beat anybody, but not good enough to take anybody for granted. And I think that's been proven out this year.
This matchup against Auburn, it's number 13 versus number 14. Olin, they're right next to each other in the rankings, and there's some similarities in that, Auburn's got a quarterback in Bo Nix who is not great. But he's wily and makes things happen, and A&M's got a quarterback in Zach Calzada who's just starting to find himself.
Yeah, and they both like to rely heavily on the running game. Two of the better running backs in the SEC, Isaiah Spiller and Tank Bigsby. I think they both have receivers that are pretty good, but haven't been shown to be great, with the exception of Nye Smith at A&M, and good strong defenses. So I think they both want to run the football, and I think whichever team is more successful running the football. And with A&M defensively, that means also containing Bo Nix on not letting him turn broken plays in the long runs, which he did last year against the Aggies for a touchdown. But I think the team that has the most success running the football is probably going to win.
Olin, what have you thought about what you've seen from Zach Calzada now that there's been a good amount of games and plays to be able to have something to go off of other than just a handful of plays?
I think he's been kind of schizophrenic, because who saw that coming against Alabama when he completes his first 10 passes, 13 of 14, and then when Alabama gets the lead, he takes A&M down on 2 scoring drives to win the game. That's Heisman Trophy level stuff if you're able to do it all year. Now, he hasn't been able to do that all year. And one of the things that is frustrating about Zach is that he struggles with the short passes. I'm talking about the little, swing passes out into the flat. He has a really big arm, and I don't think he's learned how to control it yet. And more than a few times he's had guys open, in the flat. It's all set up, screen pass or just a swing pass for what looks like it's going to be a big gain. And, he's throwing it in, as hard as he can, it appears. I think as Brent Zernan for the Houston Chronicle said, he plays like Nolan Ryan at times when he needs to beat Bob Nepper. So if he can get that under control, I think that's the next step in his development, is just adding a little more touch on some of those short passes, because if he does that and defenses have to react to him, then, of course, that should open up some space in the middle of the field.
So you're saying he's a young Kenny Rogers? The lefty for the Rangers? Yeah.
He could be. He throws hard all the time.
And then became a really, really good pitcher when he found an off-speed pitch and a couple of others as well along the way. Olin, we just had Dave Bartu on College Football Matrix, and he kind of knows the ins and outs of the college football standings. I know A&M's outside of that conversation, and obviously with the 2 losses despite the win against Alabama. What are your thoughts about the 4 that they named as the top 4, at least the first out of what are, of course, many to come?
Well, I think we all agree on Georgia at number 1. And quite frankly, I haven't seen a team that I think is better than Alabama at number 2. I have no problem. I think they had Michigan State 3. Is that right?
No, Oregon is 3. Isn't Oregon 3? Yeah.
Okay. I would personally, I probably would put Michigan State 3 because they are unbeaten, and they beat a Michigan team that I think they've got pretty highly ranked. And
they are. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Michigan State is 3.
Oregon is 4. I'm sorry. There you go.
Okay. Well then, all of that makes perfect sense to me. I know Oregon hadn't played particularly well of late, but the fact is they're 7-1, and that win over Ohio State, you can't take it away. At least I don't think you can. So that speaks a lot until somebody else beats them. I think you would always have to keep them ahead of Ohio State. And I think Oklahoma is a team that we've all seen it. The way they've struggled against Tulane and West Virginia. I wouldn't go bet on them to beat Baylor or Iowa State or Oklahoma State. And I think Cincinnati, when you look at them, I know it seems like there's a big media push to try to get Cincinnati in. And that win over Notre Dame is pretty impressive. But if you take away that one game, their FBS opponents are combined 17-30.
Olin Buchanan. Go ahead.
The strength of schedule is not there.
Yeah, the thing is, we've had, and we're not going to get into the Randys with you because we're talking about A&M as well. But it's like if Clemson had Wake Forest resume, would they be 9?
I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not.
I think, and we can go all day with that.
Yeah, would Clemson give up 56 points to Army?
Good point, yeah.
I don't know if they didn't practice for the option. Yeah, they probably a triple option. Olin Buchanan with us, TexAgs.com on Sikkim 365 Radio.
And I just figured I'd ask, any update on Haynes King and just kind of where he is?
Yeah, I don't. There hasn't been. The last time Jimbo talked about it, he said, he's going to be out. It's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to be back this year. We were hoping that he would be back for this week, coming off the open week. But, if he's not back now, I think it's Calzada's car to drive the rest of the way.
Wow. Yeah. Is he because he's playing? Is it because he can't play or because they just don't want to risk him and Calzada's playing well enough that they're okay?
I think it's just from what we've been told, I think it's still about the injury.
Okay.
I mean, he did have a broken leg. It actually broke. And I don't think it healed as fast as they were hoping that it would. Now, maybe, who knows? Maybe he'll be able to come back and get back in action in a couple of weeks. But as it stands right now, he's not. And quite frankly, I can't imagine that they would change now, even if he could.
Olin, thank you. Enjoy that one. Auburn this Saturday at Kyle Field ought to be rocking with 100,000+. Texas A&M and Auburn in a really interesting showdown in the SEC. When we come back, it is 4:48 right now on Sikkim 365 Radio. Couple of nuggets to get to. 5 o'clock hour at 5:30. We'll talk Cowboys with John Machota. Paul's top 5 in an hour from now. Want to get back to that Oklahoma State, the NCAA ruling on the basketball team, and back with more of your text. We'll open the lines up at 5. Open the phone lines to you at 5 at 254-339-1122. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
This is the best time of year for sports betting. Look, we're out of baseball now. So that does lose one thing. But the NHL just started. The NBA just started. You've got college football and the NFL in full swing. You've got still some PGA events, and that's about to start up at the first of the year in earnest. You've got NASCAR starting up at the first of the year. All that's coming up here in the next few months. Plus, BetUS.com has action on pretty much everything around the world. So if you wanted to bet on cricket or rugby or I don't know, field hockey, they can probably have action on that. That's what they do at BetUS.com. And you can get a huge leg up on your deposit with using our promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200. That's SICKM125 or SICKM200. 125% bonus or on cash or a 200% bonus if you use crypto. So go to BetUS.com today, promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they will release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. Choose your inbound vehicle, get on the list, and get your car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to choose your inbound vehicle today. Go to richardcarr.com for details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman, with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent, but you yourself represent your own business, what you do with customers. What separates you think, from everyone else?
I'll educate, let them buy. I'll sit down, go over all the coverages with them, go over everything, make sure they understand it. In case they need to use it, they know what they have, fill in any holes that they may have, or take any excess away that they may not need.
Your personality, who you are to customers, some people have different personalities. How would you describe yourself?
My dad was a coach and teacher. My mom was a teacher, for a few decades each. And again, just I teach, educate, let them buy. And, there's no dumb questions. My dad always said.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, the chat room. Well, you all are fired up over the Dave Bartu segment. Here's from Eric. Oklahoma will win against Baylor, but won't cover the spread. College Football Committee does look at the spread line. Didn't he even, Dave, say that the combination of that he even mentioned the lines, people who put together the lines should be involved?
Yeah, I mean, might as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say they know as much about these teams as anybody else. As much as Vegas might have been taboo at one point in time, they're setting those lines for a reason, and they probably have
Oh, sorry, that's me. All right, go ahead.
Probably have as many insider sources as anybody. So, I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, why not get as many people who have valuable information or valuable insight to really choose the best teams to be involved in it? I don't see why that should be off board, and there's nothing stopping. I mean, it's not like gambling is like some big bad word like it used to be. I mean, every sports league has embraced it and found that way to make money off that as well, because, I mean, that's all it's about. But
it's coming soon. Like, I say soon to college football, but once it's legal in all 50 states, which it will be in the next couple of years, you will see. And look, it'll probably be the University of Texas first. It'll be schools like that, but there will be WinStar will be the official casino of the Oklahoma Sooners and Texas Longhorns or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I think Oklahoma will beat Baylor as we stand here right now, but I do think first of all, Baylor's got to handle their business against TCU. Like I'm hesitant, and I do believe they will, but I'm just hesitant to start looking ahead at Oklahoma before that happens, just because, boy, what a waste that would be to start hyping up some game and then they fall flat in Fort Worth. But no, I think that's going to be a heck of a contest. Baylor defense against Caleb Williams and company, and could have a lot of hype. Could have College game day. And you never know. So, yeah, I'm hoping that the Bears do what they need to do this weekend, and then we get a big week of hype for the Sooners and the Bears here in a few days.
Well, to bring our good friend Barry Switzer back on, get Roy Williams on, among some others. From the 903 in a text about Texas, Christian, or TCU. He's a picture. He sent me a picture. Figured you guys would find this pretty cool. It's a picture of my great-grandfather playing for TCU when they were located in Waco. Love the show, guys, and sick 'em. By the way, he was a 6'2", 190-pound tackle. Back then, he was considered a giant.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Well, that's very cool. Thanks for sharing that. And, yeah, that's a history that I think fans of the schools probably have heard about at this point, the fact that TCU was once located in Waco and, all the closeness between the two teams. And, school burns down and they move to Fort Worth and so on and so forth. But, yeah, the rivalry's had little elements to it for a long time now. And, I'm sorry for the Frogs fans for what they're going through right now. I know the shoe's been on the other foot. TCU's had plenty of fun poking at Baylor fans, having to go through the Bryles ordeal, having to replace Matt Rule. And, I'm sure before the Gary Patterson stuff, they were probably starting to, get the drums ready to start, beating on Aranda and, he's going to lead, or that kind of a deal too. But, just because some people act that way, I do feel sorry for TCU fans. That's just getting your heart ripped out in the middle of a season, and I really just don't want that for those players. I think it sucks for the players, man. Yep. It really does. You can never. Like, this is the prime example of you can never sign up anywhere and know that you will play for the same coach. Like if it's going to happen at TCU, because none of these players signed up thinking they would ever play for anybody other than Gary Patterson as a head coach. No way.
Yeah, and you hear what Lincoln Riley was pretty upset, frustrated about it. And I know that Gary Patterson is like one of the last people anyone from Baylor or whatever want to save in any way, because there was just so many things between the two schools and a lot of things that he created himself. But it's a stunning thing if you really stop and think about it.
Oh, yeah.
21 years. Yeah, I've seen a lot of the jokes about he's a statue. Okay, he still has the statue. Coaches have statues at various stadiums. The only one that I know that was torn down was Joe Paterno under that deal. But he's got a statue for a reason. I'm a little bit leery of statues being put up a little bit too early, but he was TCU football. And yeah, Joe Paterno was Penn State. And others that have been, my point, 21 years, something happened. And you wonder if, and I'm just guessing here, if Gary threw a fit knowing that they wanted to move on without him and they gave him the opportunity to stay on, threw a fit, and then realized afterwards he looks like an idiot by doing that. That doesn't mean he doesn't have a right to feel like he then came back to start helping them. You wonder if he realized, man, I lost my temper. What do you think happened there?
I don't think there was a fit at all. I don't know. I don't think that's been mentioned in any way, shape, or form.
No, I said no one's told me this. Yeah. That was my opinion. Like, you can't fire me. I don't want to stay with you then.
I'm sure there was some of that Gary strikes me as the type of guy, he's going to get out and look as best as possible as he can. And so if he saw the writing on the wall, which clearly he did, they were telling him, hey, we want you to basically fade out after this season. Yeah, he saw the writing on the wall. The writing was clear and right in front of his face. And so, yeah, he did what he probably felt he needed to do to save some face. I will say in this whole thing, no matter how it was handled or whatever, I don't like that Gary Patterson left his players. And I know he's still apparently around there or whatever, but I would have liked to have seen him, even if it was inevitable, close out this season just for those guys. But I know that the circumstances probably didn't allow for that. So I don't know what really happened at TCU. I know they were trying to, pour water on some of the fires regarding how it really unfolded and whether Donati gave him an ultimatum about firing a Jerry Kill and another assistant or whatever happened there. I don't know. But, clearly it was just bursting at the seams and something had to give. And for whatever reason, they chose the timing right now. And, everybody can debate on whether that was right or wrong. But, yeah, it was shocking. I mean, that's for sure. And I'm sure he had a little pushback. But, I mean, what's he going to do? You can only push back so much. And, you're not in full control no matter how much it seemed like he was at times.
All right. I'm not a big fan. Like, I would think an in-season firing has to be, and it because of factors that are outside even the coach's control, that are just rules in the way that college football works now and the calendar. But I think an in-season firing doesn't really do anybody even any good unless there's just an absolute disciplinary situation where the team is run amok and you have to be like, this coach can't handle it. We've got to get somebody in here who can really whip some people into shape. And that's definitely not the case at TCU.
No, I heard you guys on the way up to Dallas, and I heard you talking about in the new early signing period and how that's forced the issue. I heard what Mac was saying as well. Let's break and come back with more of this and your call. Opening them up right now.
Let's talk about Josh Moore and some of this other stuff going on.
254-339-1122. A couple of those chat room comments or questions that we want to get to as well, but we want to hear from you too. And that's next. 254-339-1122. That's next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want, need, and maybe used to be. As you get older, testosterone levels can drop inside of your body. How? Well, it's because of father time. It's like some people have high blood pressure, some people have, great metabolism, some don't. And some have issues with their testosterone levels for whatever reason. Drop. They dip. And you really can't do much about it. And so Dr. Kent Petty can help you with that. He can get you set up to get your blood work. He'll look at the lab results, and then if your testosterone level's too low, he can put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man that you want to be and need to be and perhaps used to be. You say, okay, I'm only 38. That's not going to happen to me. Well, if you've had some issues, whether it's sleep, focus, you're too lethargic, or issues with sex drive or ED, testosterone can affect all of that. Maybe you don't have any of that. That's great. If you do, any of those symptoms or a lot of them, PettyClinicLowT.com and tell them Smokey sent you.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Offset with Smith in the backfield on 2nd and goal. And instead, they come around with the tight end. Ben Sims takes it in.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, the chat room. You're on it, YouTube, 365 Sports. Hayden Bumpus just walked in. Nice to see Hayden. Also, the phone line, Paul just locked it in at 254-339-1122. I want to get to a couple of chat comments, and then you guys can respond to them as well. And I will also. Terrence Baca is saying that Cincinnati hurt themselves because of their non-conference schedule. They played Notre Dame, now Miami, Ohio, Murray State, I get it, but they also played Indiana. They played at Indiana. That's a Big Ten team who last year was really pretty good. And they played at Notre Dame. So I don't know how many Power 5 teams play like Notre Dame and then also play Alabama.
Okay.
Notre Dame kind of does that on occasion, of course.
but they're Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's outliers. To answer his direct comment, how many schools, and college football scheduling makes no sense when it comes down to the logistics of it. And we saw that last year when teams just threw together a schedule in a couple months. And they have these, 10 years out, 15, LSU and USC are going to play in 2028 or not even 2035. Great. Well, I mean, remind me when it's 2034 and I'll get excited. But if you're Cincinnati's AD, who's not Mike Bohn anymore, he's at USC, but if you're Cincinnati's AD and you say, you know what, we need to improve this schedule, I'm going to call Clemson today. Does Clemson have an opening one? And if they did have an opening, are they really going to go, yeah, let's do it? Not necessarily. It's hard to do. So while Cincinnati may not be, I don't know if they're dodging people. I don't think they are. They got Notre Dame on their schedule, but they're not able to just call up people and go, Alabama, we want you, our place, next year. Are you men or are you mice? That's not going to happen.
I agree. So I thought Cincinnati's schedule for what they are, who they are, and where they're in the conference, I thought, they played Notre Dame and Indiana. There's a lot of teams in the Power 5 that may not have that in their non-conference schedule.
I don't know what else they're supposed to do. I mean, I really don't. I mean, yeah, you could schedule Clemson or schedule Alabama, I guess. But, again, they only have so many games they can play. So outside of having Notre Dame and a Big Ten school, I mean, that's pretty much what everybody does. They play a marquee team. They play some other Power 5. Actually, Cincinnati's non-con's better than Baylor's. Like, they're better than a lot of teams just having Notre Dame. I mean, Baylor had BYU, but you compare the other two teams, Indiana's better than Texas State or Texas Southern. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's a real gripe for Cincinnati, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all had the same thought, but that's one of the chat room's opinion.
But no, maybe I'm not. I'm just saying, like, for me, that's not a knock. I mean, if others want to view it that way, that's fine. But I don't see how it's any different from most every other team in the country.
I bet their non-conference schedule is again. There's a couple of games on there that that's kind of who they play. I bet their non-conference schedule is better than half of the Power 5s by having Notre Dame and Indiana on the non-conference, and that is a guess. Here's another one. This is from the Dirty South Scout Dummies. It's on the chat. This dude always says stupid crap. Like, if you take away the Notre Dame game, you can't. It happened. That game was played. Notre Dame lost. Cincinnati won, period. There's none of this take away that game. And he's using that as an argument on occasion. Well, if they won. I also heard one of the things about Dave that I wish they would fix. If you play a team early in the year and they're 5-0 and you beat them, but they end up 5-7. Should you get credit for who they were when you beat them or who they are at the end of the year? Because let's say they lose their starting quarterback or have a massive rash of injuries or their schedule does get even more difficult.
Well, I sometimes I wonder if the committee does that because there are things. I wondered. Remember in 2014 when FSU was on the cusp because every game they were barely winning and all that. But if you looked at their schedule at the start of the year, they started with Oklahoma State in a neutral site game. They played Notre Dame. They had all these really good teams on their schedule. But really, most of their schedule wound up being just above 500. So on August 30th, their schedule was, wow, this is the national championship team. They're playing all these Power 5 teams. They've gotten rid of some of their kind of junk games. Then they played this mediocre schedule. They barely won all of them, and then Oregon, handed their ass in the Rose Bowl. But there was that debate all year, and then you think like, well, that's not FSU's fault that the other teams were bad. That just happened. So how do you weigh that?
Should you get credit for who they were when you played them or who they are at the end of the year?
I'm torn on this, and I don't know what the right answer is. The problem with doing it on who they are at the time is that you get a lot of those big games early on, and what typically happens in the preseason top 25, you have the typical teams that are all ranked right out of the gates. Like, guess who's going to be ranked in the top 25 next year?
Yep.
Texas. I mean, and top 15 probably, right?
Yep.
And are they ever, really top 25 when it's all said and done at the end? No. So, I mean, should it count if Texas was ranked when you beat them? I don't know. I really don't know because those early season games, those are the most flawed rankings-wise because it's just based off the poll that was just put forth and, like, these are the best teams. So, they're going to have teams that are wrong. So, yeah, I mean, if you beat the number 5 team in week 2, but it turns out they're not even, like, a top 20 team, I don't know how you do that. That's always been kind of a dilemma to me. And, the other problem with it is not only do you start off with, like, these imaginary numbers to begin with, but we see the insulation that the voters have for the SEC. So if you want to do it to where it's only the teams at the end of the year, which is probably the way that it should be, there's massaging that can take place there to where Mississippi State's all of a sudden a top 25 win at the end of the year, even though at the time they weren't, and throughout the year they really weren't. But then all of a sudden at the end they are, and that's what I could see happening as well. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. That's something I've wondered about a lot. I don't know how to.
And that's
like when I talk about Baylor's big top 25 wins, I'm like, do I still count them as top 25 wins if Iowa State's not in there anymore, or are they not? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always wondered.
Oh, and the answer to that, here's how the committee views it. It depends on who it is.
Exactly.
So,
that's the point.
So yeah, that's what they do. So, for example, when Alabama, and I'm just going to use another FSU example because it's fresh in my mind, but when Alabama beat LSU or FSU and sent their quarterback DeAndre Francois out for the year, well, when they beat that FSU team, they were loaded, and that's what they were. But there could have been another team in the playoff discussion that played them at the end of the year when they sucked, and you're like, well, I mean, FSU's no good anymore. But Alabama, it was a good excuse because of the first game, everybody was there, but that was a different team. But if it was that same another team that also beat that same team later, you may not get that excuse because they're not Alabama.
You can move the narrative, though, in that way. Yeah, they played Alabama when they were ranked number 1 in the country and beat them, but then they, their schedule. That's the thing. I don't know how they do that. That's one good thing about humans in a conference, in a committee, whatever. They can discuss that. Well, when they beat Ohio State, they were rolling. And then Ohio State, which they don't do, but they lost 3 in a row because they lost their quarterback. And then, so that win in August or September or whenever was a quality win, even if they end up 8-4.
Let's just ask this poll question. Should top 25 wins count based on what is at the end of the year, top 25, or what they were at the time? I would love to hear the chat's opinion on that.
Can we do that?
Do top 25 wins count for you beat them when they were in the top 25? That counts as a top 25 win, or should only be what you did by the end of the year?
Yeah. Tony on the text line says, depends if they're exposed as a fraud or had a collapse. If a bad team exposed, no credit. If a good team that collapsed, credit deserved.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, because sometimes you can, you play a team, for example, Clemson this year. All right, so Georgia, they beat them 10-3 in week 1.
Yeah, now think about that. 10-3 in week 1, and Clemson is like above average.
Clemson just scored over 21 points for the first time against an FBS opponent last week, and they scored 23. So it was, or 24. So it wasn't like they, really shook the world up.
But I guarantee you that, and I'm not, listen, no one's going to try to put chinks in the armor of Georgia. If they end up hurting themselves, that'll be the story. But so that game against Clemson, you don't think in that room they're like, man, they beat Clemson. Clemson's right now struggling.
That's what I wonder.
Average,
because it's not a quality win right now. It's not a big win.
It's talked about as a quality win among the committee.
Yeah, I'm sure, because it's a named team, and that's the thing is we don't know exactly how they view that. But yeah, I'd be curious, so I throw it out to the chat. I mean, yeah, Clemson at the time counts as a top 25 win. Should it count as a top 25 win right now?
No,
it shouldn't. But does it? Like that's the thing. And can I pass along a couple stories that we've been? Yeah. All right, so. A couple of stories coming out of Austin that don't have to do with a monkey biting a trick-or-treater. But Terrence Cooks, former 4-star recruit for the Longhorns, freshman linebacker, he's entered his name into the transfer portal. So just making note of that. He wasn't recruited by this staff, so that was said to have had something to do with it, and he's been like third string most of the year. And I'll tell you what, man, he's from Shadow Creek. You talk about like an up and down, like Kyron Jones is on the Baylor roster, but I just saw the young man, Randy Masters, who at one point was a Baylor commit. At one point he was a Cincinnati commit. Now he's a UNLV commit. And that's all his own off-the-field doing, I believe. But, he jumped to the transfer portal, but he was from Shadow Creek and then got basically booted out of school there. But, yeah, Terrence Cooks, no longer with the Longhorns. But also another note on UT that is of interest, Joshua Moore apparently got into an altercation or an argument with Steve Sarkisian at practice per I think it was Anwar Richardson and Chip Brown as well, even though they're from different outlets. So he got into a fight with Sarkisian, and now there's a question about his status with the program after the little practice incident.
Here's what I think.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Joshua Moore's a pretty good story because I believe it wasn't either one that had some sort of sickness or whatever. I'm not. There's something happened with him. I forgot what it was. Maybe it was an injury or whatever. He's a player from Yoakum. I believe he came from Yoakum. This is one of their issues. They have incredibly, at times, 5-star talent. And I'm not saying Moore was 5-star, but he was rated pretty high. They have prima donnas. Now, I don't know Joshua Moore, and I don't know B.J. Foster, and I don't know. I know a little bit about DeMarvion Overshown because I talked to his football coach in Dale Irwin at ARP, and he's a friend of mine. But it seems as if one of the issues, you hear about whatever's going on there, cut the prima donnas. I'm not saying that there's not one on every team or even sometimes a handful. It's cancerous. And I don't care where they are, what position they play. That's one of, I think, and I'm not down there, but I think that's one of the issues. They have a couple of prima donnas, and then there's 5. And like B.J. Foster, I saw what he did after when Abram Smith outran him to the corner, which still was stunning because B.J. Foster is supposed to be this great blue chip talent. And then he's throwing a helmet, slamming a helmet. He's not the first player to ever do that. You have to take care of some of that stuff. He might be a great kid, but I think they have just enough of a handful of prima donnas.
Yeah, but what's it going to hurt Sark now? Like in the short term,
we did promote the calls, and we'll get to you in just a second.
But it doesn't hurt him now. Like right now, it only helps him. And again, not having Joshua Moore in the future, like you can't get a guy who's been at least that good. I mean, it's not like Joshua Moore is Devontae Smith. I mean, you're not cutting a Heisman winner if you send him on his way.
I'll just say Texas is better off without Joshua Moore, in my opinion. I think the sooner he's gone, the better. He's a fine player. He made a play or two against Baylor and did not make a couple of others that turned out to be pretty key. But at this point, with what Sarkisian's trying to do, the more of those guys who have been part of the problem the last 4 years, I think the better off you are, moving on. That's my opinion. I don't know what the argument was about. I don't see Sarkisian, though, losing his cool and doing something stupid. No. And I definitely could see Joshua Moore, losing his cool and doing something stupid. So
he's the same young man that had was arrested in Austin.
Yeah, that's what you were thinking of.
Carrying a loaded gun without a license, prompting a season-long suspension that kept him off the field. I thought,
yeah. And he's had kind of like, I know what you're saying, though. There's been like kind of a couple things with him, and that was one of them. Nothing that's like he's some like super bad kid. We're not trying to say that by any means, but I do think there's a certain attitude among some players who have been around UT for a while that the sooner that they get rid of that attitude, the better off they will be. And trying to change the culture there, because I do think there's a bit of a culture change that needs to take place. And it's been as big a part of their problem as anything else.
Ask any ex-player who is around that team now. They really feel that you guys are really riding our 05 coattails.
Oh, of course. They've been doing that. Yeah. They've been doing that for, like you said, 15 years now. And they're not the guys who played in the Rose Bowl with Vince Young. They're not even close to that. And yet you would have thought, like, a lot of these guys who are on this team right now, I remember all that signing day hype around DeMarvion Overshone and Joshua Moore and all these guys, and they were going to be the team that, one of the last 20 classes that was going to bring Texas back. But I just think that sort of attitude that's been instilled in some of these players, I think the quicker you get rid of that we just belong and we deserve it kind of mentality, the better off Sark will be. So I don't look at this as a bad story, honestly.
You ask, I agree, and then calls. You ask coaches. You have teams that take you to a level, and one of the issues is do the people that come along at the end of the ride. I even asked Coach when Bryles was winning the titles at the Big 12, how do you make sure the ones coming in understand how hard it was to get to where you are and how difficult it was to go from what you were at 4-8, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have guys that come in and they just expect things. They're entitled. Okay, Paul.
All right, let's go to Tracy in Cincinnati. I was hoping you would call today, Tracy. Very curious as to what you thought about last night. You're on the Bet US caller line.
Hey, thanks, guys. Love your show. Look, I saw the rankings in real time, and you know what? As a Cincinnati fan, of course, I'm a Michigan State alum, but I wasn't mad about where Cincinnati was at. Cincinnati still has everything in front of them. That's like a good saying. People would say, you got everything in front of them. Michigan State's going to play Ohio State. That's going to play out. Then, Michigan's going to play Ohio State. Michigan State still got to go. I think they go to Penn State still. So, there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen. Alabama's going to probably end up playing Georgia. As long as Cincinnati keep winning, if bad things happen in these big conferences, Cincinnati's going to probably be the 4th seed.
No.
They can move 2 spots. They can move 2 spots in like 8 weeks.
I know, but it doesn't seem like Tracy. I wish you were right. I really do. I wish you were right. And maybe that's what should happen, but it seems as if the writing's on the wall that no matter what, that somehow this thing is set up where they're not going to get in.
Yeah, but to his point, and Tracy, man, you're living your best life right now, brother, aren't you? With Michigan State and Cincinnati, man, enjoy this ride. But to his point, while we're talking to Dave Bartu, and it's basically he acknowledged like the G5s are going to get left out more often than not, and pretty much almost always. But there is room if chaos does occur. Like, that's the thing is what he's talking about, is if chaos occurs, then I'm sure there will be something in place where it will still be incredibly difficult for Cincinnati to get in this playoff. But all they can do is just win out. That's all Cincinnati can worry about doing is winning out. And based on their schedule, they should win out. And go win the American Conference Championship game, and then see where the where everything stands at that point. Because, yeah, you do have, Michigan State still having to go and play Ohio State on the road and then turn around and play Penn State the following week at home.
So you need like Michigan State to beat Ohio State, kill them. Then you need Penn State to beat Michigan State.
I mean,
you need Oklahoma to lose to Baylor and or Oklahoma State.
Which is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. You could lose to both. And that you need, but
I would be fascinated to see an unbeaten Cincinnati versus an unbeaten Wake Forest. Make that argument. I'm taking Cincy.
Oh, I'm taking Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just saying,
I would 98-90, but I would take Cincinnati.
But I'm just saying, I would love for that to be what it boils down to. Like Oklahoma takes a couple of losses, or the Big Ten eats itself alive, and just some scenario to where it ends up where you're having to make a decision there. But I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility. I mean, you could have a situation where Oklahoma loses to Baylor, turns around, beats Oklahoma State. Then Baylor beats them in the Big 12 championship game, and the Big 12's totally toast and out of it. We know the Pac-12 has basically no hope outside of Oregon, so if they slip up, they're totally done. The Big 10 could eat itself alive. The ACC is irrelevant outside of Wake Forest right now for the most part, so they could. There's ways it could happen. Now, it's asking for a lot. Bottom line is, Cincy's just got to keep winning, but enjoy that ride, man.
Here's the problem. Tracy, thank you, man, and good luck. We do. I hope you, with the Spartans and also with the Bearcats, they have to have chaos to get in, where others just have to breathe.
True, yes.
All right, Paul.
All right, let's go to Eric. Wants to talk about Cincinnati. I'm not sure where Eric is from. Eric, you're on the Bet US caller line.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Hey, man, my name is Derek.
I'm sorry, Derek.
I don't know where they got Eric from. No problem, man. Cincinnati's at the, sixth in the country, but shouldn't they be worrying about the schools that's actually behind them, because they're going to be able to leapfrog them and take their position? Cincinnati, they're sixth and all of that, but if they play Bama, they play those top four teams, they lose them by 30. That's all I have to say.
All right.
I don't think they're losing to Oregon by 30. I think they probably lose to Georgia and Alabama by 30, but I don't think they would lose to Oregon by 30. We can just agree to disagree there. But you're right. I mean, it's not just about who's in front of them. It's about who's behind them. And you're absolutely right. I mean, for example, a Baylor team who's just got one loss right now, I mean, if they were in theory to run the table and go win the Big 12 championship, and that's not out of the question, quite frankly, with the way they're playing, would Baylor just jump over a Cincinnati, a one-loss Big 12 Baylor? Would it have like 2 wins over Oklahoma, or at least 1 win over Oklahoma and then a win over Oklahoma State, which would negate their only loss this season?
Yeah.
Would they prop them up over Cincinnati? Probably. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's there's not one just concrete, ironclad path that's not a bunch of chaos happening above and behind them. And that's the unfortunate spot that Cincinnati's in. But, again, all they can do is just keep winning out. And, I agree with you on the whole. They wouldn't probably beat most of the top 4. But, again, I go back to earlier in the talk about the expanded playoff and whether or not it should be expanded, and kind of this whole ranking system is – like, why even have a football team, Cincinnati? Like, if we're just going to chalk it up to, well, they would just lose to them anyways, then why do we even watch the games on Saturday?
Then why play the NCAA men's tournament? The NCAA men's tournament is popular. I'm not trying to say you're going to have, George Mason and Butler and all that. The reason the tournament is popular is not who wins it, although obviously around here with Baylor. It's because of the first weekend of the tournament is chaos.
Right.
When you have Cinderella. And sometimes Cinderella's allowed to go into the second weekend, and then rarely, but sometimes even allowed to get the slipper into the Final Four.
I mean, here's the thing. You had, let's say Cincinnati goes and plays Alabama. It's probably not going to be a great game, right? I don't know. It could be. But most people are going to assume that Alabama beats them by like 4 touchdowns or whatever. So what's the alternative? Well, we got to get a name team in there. Is that what we need to do? We need to get name teams so we can have Oregon 59, Florida State 20. Do we need to get name teams in there so we can have Alabama 38, Michigan State nothing? Do we need to get name teams in there so LSU can beat Oklahoma 63-28? And I could go on for like 10 other examples if we want to. So the blowouts are going to happen regardless. Why not let Cincinnati get blown out instead of it just being Oklahoma again? That's kind of my thing.
Yeah, no, and we try to, we make that point over and over again. That's the weird thing about it.
We asked for a poll, 40% so far, with just 68 votes. Ranking at the time of the game is what should count, 40%. 60% said where they are at the end of the season.
All right, Chris in Missouri, our last call before we go to John Machota in the next segment. You're on the Bet US caller line.
Hey, guys. Good to talk to you again. Hey, I have a question because I keep seeing people saying that the college football playoff should be expanded. I'm worried that it's going to be too much of a drain on fans. Right now we only have 4 teams, but you're expecting fans to travel, to these neutral sites, which is going to cost a lot of money for tickets and hotels and airlines, and then they're supposed to follow the winners on to the next. If you expand the playoff, I just don't know how many people have a month to just take off work and spend all this money for.
I agree.
I just wonder how realistic extended playoff really is.
Well, Dave Bartu earlier was talking about 17 games. And I know that I used to use a typewriter. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's what we used to use to type things. Instead, now it's the laptop. What? The point is, 17 games? What the hell? So you're going to have
that's why they want the first rounds to be at host sites.
16 games.
But I mean, at host sites.
Yeah.
So
there was a time, and again, it got to be where a team would play an extra game. 13-0 would win the national title, or 13 games. It's 14. Now it's 15. Now it's 17, and that's getting. And I'm telling you, let's say a fan base that does not have massive amount of alums. It's not a state university. No matter how much they love their team. You think Baylor fans are going to be able to go to 2 or 3, if that ever happens, 2 or 3 rounds of they will go. Will they be able? Which one do you go to? Well, what if you don't go and they lose? That would be tough. I think that'd be tough even on the best of the biggest fan bases in the country.
And I think, unfortunately, that's probably why there's even more. There's already a multitude of reasons for why they lean towards the big schools, and they have their formulas Dave laid out and everything, but I remember when Baylor was in that playoff race with TCU that the Big 12 totally fumbled the bag on. Bob Bowlesby can say whatever he wants to. I don't think they handled that the right way at the time. But, yeah, I mean, you're in a situation where I know Baylor fans aren't going to be able to travel and show up. And even if they all got together for one big game, it's still not going to sell out, Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I mean, there's not a big enough fan base. But I remember that first year, and then when Ohio State was kind of right there on the outside looking in for a moment, and everybody's saying to me, it's going to be Ohio State. It's going to be Ohio State. And I figured it probably would be. But one of the factors that got brought up that was really interesting to me wasn't so much that, Ohio State's better or they have better players, is they're going to travel better. And how that may factor into, committee's decisions potentially. Do you factor that in? Which fan base is going to, sell out this semifinal playoff game and also be able to travel to a championship game?
I think that probably is something. They won't admit it, but that probably is something that comes into consideration as well.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It is.
469, since he doesn't deserve it, like UCF went unbeaten, didn't go. Baylor as well. It's national brands that will be in it. It's about money, nothing else. But you just kind of...
You said they don't deserve it,
They don't deserve it. You can't say that.
Yeah.
You can say what you said about its national brands. Okay, I think all of us maybe agree with that. But to say Cincinnati doesn't deserve it, hasn't earned it, I think that's very short-sighted. I really do. All right, when we come... But that's me. In Craig or in Paul.
No, I do think that. I mean, I would not say that they didn't deserve it. If they go win all their games, they absolutely deserve whatever opportunity there should be there. But
who's ranked number 1 right now in college basketball to start the year? Who played for the national title last year? Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Gonzaga.
Yeah, they had to earn their way to get to a point, but then they started playing better and better non-conference schedules and but they had to start somewhere, right? And Cincinnati's doing that. They're about to be a part of a Power 5 conference, which, as Dave mentioned, their recruiting will only get better. When we come back, John Machota, the Cowboys are on a roll. They've got some personnel decisions to make, and we'll discuss that with him next on Sikkim 365 Radio. All right, discoverwoodway.com. Get on there. They have an app as well to put on your phone to look at all of what they have coming up, including Jessie Reed sent me this. She told me that Jake Hoot is having a concert at their location November 17th. He's a winner of The Voice. For a lot of those of you who either you watch it or your significant other. Sundance Head is opening for him, and they also have been winners as well. The Voice, we know how popular that show is. I don't watch it much anymore, but at the same time, millions do. Jake Hoot, 17th of November, that's coming up this week in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Jake Hoot. Go to Discover Woodway for more information on concert tickets.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all midsize trucks. Get an early start to the Black Friday sales event only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers, and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
John Machoda, theathletic.com. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. So, John, Tyron Smith's starting to kind of have some things go a little bit south. I know that they had to bring in Paul Wineski. What is his name? The tackle?
Ty Neski.
Yeah, him. Yeah. What are they going to do with Lyle Collins? Where does he go this week? As far as, does he start or what?
I'm starting to think that they're going to go with Lyle Collins at right tackle and move Terrence Steele to left tackle, which is fascinating and just crazy to even think of if you compare it to last year of where Terrence Steele was. But, you know, judging by some of the stuff, I mean, it was a shortened practice today and even shorter time that we got to watch. But from just gathering some things I saw there, I keep saying Nasecki. Terrence Steele looks like to be the guy that's going to get the first go at left tackle, because they like Nasecki as more of a swing tackle to kind of come in and play, you know, a certain number of snaps, not necessarily an entire game. And so Steele moving him to left tackle is a real possibility. I kind of wonder, is that a great move because of the fact that, they've already had some issues with Connor Williams at left guard. So now you have Steele and Williams over there on that left side protecting Dak Prescott's blind side. I mean, if you're an opposing team, I don't care where your edge rusher normally lines up. I think that you would line them up going across from that side. So it'll be interesting to see, but they got to figure something out because this isn't going to be a one-game fix. I'm pretty convinced that this Tyron Smith ankle thing is going to be a several-week thing, if not longer. So they need to figure out something that can be potentially something that they can ride with for several weeks here.
Were they just flying too close to the sun so far this year with Tyron Smith and that he'd been healthy? And it was inevitable because this is kind of who Tyron Smith is now?
Yeah, I guess kind of. I mean, kind of like the Sean Lee thing. I mean, you hate to just say the guy is injury prone because it's not like it's just one thing. It's all kinds of different things. Like this is, you think it's the neck or the shoulder, but now it's Tyron's left ankle, and so it is one of those things where I don't think that they would say this publicly, but certainly behind the scenes they have to be preparing every year as kind of having a contingency plan of like, well, what happens when Tyron has to miss a game or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? And so, I mean, I can say from 2 weeks ago, they felt really good about where they were at having 4 offensive tackles with Nasecki, Steele, Collins, and Tyron Smith. So I feel like they feel they're pretty equipped to be able to handle this, but it's certainly not going to be, the offensive line that they ultimately would want, which was obviously Tyron Smith at left tackle, Lyle at right, and then, whatever your best 2 guys are at guard and center next to, Zach Martin. But hey, that's the way it is. That's the way the NFL is. It's hard for you to go all season with the same 5 offensive linemen, and teams that generally do go probably exceed expectations more than anything. And so this is just kind of a problem that they're going to have to deal with.
I know it's been talked about quite a bit by now, John, but your thoughts on Jaron Kearse and, making the calls defensively, how that was able to free up Micah Parsons, and just the thought, I know he commented on it a bit today, but seemed to be a pretty good move for the Cowboys, at least last week.
Yeah, I like the idea of freeing up Micah Parsons so that he doesn't have to worry about that side of it just because he is a rookie. And there will definitely come a time in his career where he'll be that guy that will be calling the whole defense, will be the quarterback of the defense. But it says a lot about Jaron Kearse and what they think about him, which is another one. I mean, you talk about Terrence Steele stepping in the role he did. Who would have ever expected Jaron Kearse to step into this role where he never leaves the field, leads the team in tackles, team leader, and now he's the one calling the plays, which it's not as it's not the same as a quarterback where you're adjusting a bunch of stuff and things like that. I mean, you're basically getting a call in from Dan Quinn and then you're telling it, communicating it to the rest of the team. But it was a move that I think, even if you don't believe in the idea of like taking more off Micah's plate and things like that, I mean, just look at the way he played. So regardless of how your feelings are about the move, it seemed to work out well. So why would you go away from it? I mean, if he keeps playing like that, NFC Defensive Player of the Week, whatever you did that week, go ahead and keep doing that because it seems to be working just fine.
They're really good, and we know that. And they've had 2 or 3 wins. There's also the loss with Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers, in which they could have won that game. But has anyone stopped for it? They look good, but San Diego could have gone either way, right? New England could have gone either way. Los Angeles could have gone either way, right? I mean, the Chargers. And then the game Sunday could have gone either way. But isn't that what you have to do? Some teams some years win them, and some teams some years don't.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and let's say this team goes on and wins, 14, 15 games anyway. Like, no one would expect them to just blow teams out. Like, you're going to have close games. They're fortunate with the way the rest of the schedule sets up. They're in a really good spot. The teams that, like the Chiefs that you thought were going to be better than they were, aren't. And, the Saints have had some injuries and other issues like this. But obviously the NFC East is just as bad, if not worse, outside of the Cowboys as it was last year. So that certainly has been, a great thing for them. But at the end of the day, this is the NFL. Like, there's to be it's rare that just week to week you're just going to, go into the third quarter and, get ready to get Cooper Rush ready because this game's already out of hand. I mean, you're going to have to close games. And they have. And the key thing, I think, on all 3 of the games you mentioned is that they're on the road. And, this is the first season back, fans in the state, things like that. And just being in Minneapolis Sunday night, I mean, you're not going to get a much louder environment than that, playoffs or whatever, just the way that building's constructed. The fact that the Vikings don't get many primetime games, I mean, that was a huge game for them. And obviously it was a game because, they were doing pretty well in playoff contention. But now if you watch that game, you're kind of scratching your head and makes you wonder how they are even in playoff contention. But that's another story. But no, just getting those wins, finding a way to beat a Chargers team, a Patriots team, a Vikings team on the road. I mean, that's not the Lions, Texans, and Jags. I mean, those are, probably middle of the pack teams like that. So you're going to have to be better teams on the road, probably in the playoffs, unless you do get the number 1 overall seed. So no, I think you're happy with those no matter how you get them. Honestly, you'd have to be happy with that Vikings game if it would have went that way,
Absolutely.
Even if you had Dak the entire game.
Yeah, because that was nuts. That almost is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
That was nuts.
John, this may sound like a weird question, and we might have talked about it before, but with Michael Gallup and Cedric Wilson both being free agents, and this is no knock on Michael Gallup, he's shown to be an excellent player, and he'll be healthy and help the Cowboys down the line, but the market demands what the market demands. Would you be surprised if the Cowboys are maybe more aggressive to keep Wilson in the fold, given that he can pretty much do everything they would ever ask him to do, and he would be cheaper and easier to plug in right away to overcome a loss of Michael Gallup, who is probably going to get some big money in the open market?
I think it all comes down to the money, to be honest with you, for both of them. Like, if someone's willing to take some type of a team-friendly deal, then you go and do it. But if they're not, and it doesn't make sense for you financially, you don't. You go find the next guy. And I understand how people will be like, oh, well, that's easier said than done. Yeah, it's easier said than done for most teams. But what this team has shown you this year, what this organization has showed you, is like they can find pretty affordable options. It's not like it was a significant investment in Michael Gallup or Cedric Wilson. Like, you have to go draft another receiver in the 3rd or 4th round to replace that production. And yeah, they're not going to be the polished Cedric Wilson or Michael Gallup right away, but they have to develop into that. And that's how you keep building your roster like that. I mean, there's just so many pieces they've added this year, from DeMonte KZ to J. Ryan Kearse to Keanu Neal, that like they're not big investments, but they've played key roles. That's the way you got to keep this thing rolling. You can't be paying everybody. I mean, that was that's as great as Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are, as a key part of the whole Patriot way, is that they weren't overpaying anybody. And I don't see this team doing that either. The only player on this team right now that I can see them overpaying, or it'll be paying market value, is if Trayvon Diggs keeps doing what he's doing. They're not going to let Trayvon Diggs leave the building. They'll make him the high stake corner in the league. They'd be foolish not to. But even with like a Randy Gregory, like at his age, if he's looking for the absolute top dollar and he's going to go to whatever team gives him that, regardless of the situation, he just wants to get every last penny he can get. That might not be with the Dallas Cowboys. I think the chances of keeping Randy Gregory are because of everything he's been through with the Cowboys, how much he enjoys playing for the Cowboys, how much he enjoys Jerry Jones and what Jerry has done for him. So I think he takes a little bit less to stay with the Cowboys. That's why it's possible. But if Cedric Wilson and Michael Gallup are going to go to the open market and get top dollar, which, hey, they should. I mean, they deserve it. But it just probably won't be with the Cowboys, and that's because they have to still pay CeeDee Lamb, and they're paying Amari Cooper a lot of money. You really just can't have everything. And as much as he said it, and you guys have probably heard it a million times just like I have, it goes back to that Jerry Jones story of him driving that dirty Bronco while he had his own personal jet. And the sports reporter asked him, how are you doing this? It's because, well, if they have one, you can't necessarily have the other. So you can't have everything. And if they have to let go of Cedric Wilson and Michael Gallup, then they got to find the next guy to step up.
John, what do you think about the throwback helmets they're breaking out?
That was interesting. We just found out about that after locker room availability. I was kind of surprised by that, but I mean, it makes sense. It fits in with their salute service. I'm just, to be honest with you, I'm just kind of surprised that it hasn't happened before this. With how it seems like teams, I blame Oregon for this because of their different uniforms every week, but it just seems like teams, even in the NFL, are always trying to change things up and wear throwbacks. And then they got to the level where they were like, well, we don't want guys wearing different helmets all the time for the head issues and different types of safety issues. So they stuck with just keeping the same helmets, but you could change stickers and stuff like that. So I'm actually surprised with, I mean, that's obviously an iconic, 1976 Dallas Cowboys, Roger Staubach wearing that helmet. I mean, I wasn't around then, but I mean, I've obviously seen it a bunch. So it's cool that they're wearing it. I'm just kind of surprised that they haven't done it between, then and now.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
No? John, thank you very much. John Machota, theathletic.com, where this covers the Cowboys on Wednesdays, midway through the 5 o'clock hour. When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5. You have a couple more stories you want to get to?
I should mention PJ Fleck's contract extension,
Yep.
Paul's favorite coach in all of college sports.
Do you represent
Going to be
him?
around at Minnesota for a while longer.
Well, good he's staying at Minnesota.
7-year extension through 2028. Already been there a handful of years at this point. But, yeah, PJ Fleck, that was one of those just kind of various scattered college football stories between Joshua Moore getting into it with Sark, and we remain to see how that's going to play out. But, yeah, P.J. Fleck getting an extension as well. And there's more of that underlying conference realignment news with Conference USA seems to have shored up things.
Yep.
But it does, beg the question, and going back to somebody who was, I think it might have even been Dave Bartu who was talking about this, for a sport where a couple of months ago it was all about the top teams further insulating themselves, they're now bringing up teams that weren't even a part of the party and are now joining the party. And I know Liberty will never have a chance to win a national title, or James Madison or whoever. It's just there's more teams involved now. So I don't know if this realignment thing really went the way that everybody thought it was going to, because I don't think that was the end goal, was to have more teams playing Division I football than there were before this all started. But here we are. So, yeah, just a couple of scattered notes like that going around. So I'm sure we'll get a formal full-blown Conference USA, like here we are and here's what we're going to be and all of that at some point. But, yeah, flex extension, the more whatever is going to happen there. And
I do, and I know that, especially since Jacksonville State has a flex over my people, but I mean, it's weird that Conference USA can be like, oh, yeah, AAC, you took it? Well, you missed out on Jacksonville State, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's New Mexico State got their offer and others, but
Sam Houston.
Sam Houston's going to be a Division I. Like I don't think that was ever the intention, was for Sam Houston to now be in the party.
They've earned it like a North Dakota State. There's no question.
I'm just saying,
I know. Yeah,
I don't think that was the goal of Oklahoma. I mean, I know Oklahoma and Texas' mind was on the money, and it wasn't on how it was going to affect the rest of college football. But it feels like we were going to a contraction stage. And now it's just expanded. So
it's exploded.
Yeah.
And we're not over. There'll be much more to come as well.
I did want to mention one more thing. One of the more interesting candidates being brought up for TCU, he's got a little bit of an online push going. But what do y'all think? I'm just curious of your thoughts, because we know that TCU's got, possibly an offensive head coach in mind. That's kind of what Donati pointed to. But I'm just curious, what do y'all think of TCU head football coach Deion Sanders?
Look, he is surpassed what I expected. If he moves up that level, he's going to have to hire better assistants or more. Not that the guys aren't doing well at Jackson State; they're doing fine. But he'll be in that level soon. I don't think it's going to be this year. I think he's going to have a couple more prove it years. But I do think this: the reason you wouldn't hire Deion Sanders as your head coach a couple years ago was because he would probably do some things that would get you in trouble because of NIL type stuff that he would do. Because
but see, the thing is,
now that's all legal, and I would want a coach like that who not only understands NIL but embraces it and will get your players big deals.
Yeah, you can't get in trouble for it now.
No,
unless you just go so far out of bounds, to where you're dealing with the mafia or something. I mean, it's all free.
They had that football team that he was coaching, and they got in trouble because of some things as far as who was where and
with the high school team.
Yeah,
that was that's high school rules though. That was a
yeah, but they were rules.
Yeah.
Right.
But now there's no rules, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about TCU is established. This was this was a fake school that was created simply for football that basically didn't have a real address practically. You know what I mean? It wasn't,
you mean like Bishop Sycamore?
It wasn't Bishop Sycamore, but it wasn't that far off, quite frankly. I mean, Prime Prep failed. It went down in flames, and I know what you're saying, that he can be a little, maybe a more of a rebel than some others might be, but I just mentioned him because I see a little bit of chatter about he might get an interview, and you know how it is, the rumor mills and whatnot, but just an interesting name that, is in the college ranks and could be moving up.
I think at times he's a breath of fresh air, and he's kind of matured in my eyes a little bit. Obviously, he's not been doing very well. He's had some health issues that he's overcoming right now. Here's the one to wrap it up, and then Paul's top 5 to break here. Cameron, look, everyone saying Alabama deserves to be ranked ahead of Cincinnati despite losing to A&M eats crayons. See, that's what we look for.
Yes.
Out of the chat room. This is 365.
It was overtime. It was the last second, and it was because that's not applied everywhere else, but it isn't when it needs to be.
This is Sikkim 365 Sports. The top 5 is next.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. I'll do it abbreviated since we're running over a little bit. Craft beer, unbelievable selection, and that roster churns and churns and churns. And it is that time of year where you're getting some of the fall coming out and some of the winter coming in. You're going to love that. Great high-end whiskeys that they have there, Bardstown, Weller, Pinhook, tons of stuff. And they've got a fantastic selection of balcones as well. So if you're into high-end bourbons, craft beer, wine, spirits, customer service to beat the band, a speedy drive-through window, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity if people have to pay things off as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
All right, I held this to today so Smokey would be here, even though it was more topical yesterday. But these are the top 5 coach stripper names so that we can enjoy this pole assassin thing while we can.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So number 5, Scott Frost's stripper name. And you need to see these graphics, Smokey. Smokey's happiness assassin.
Is that Scott Frost bumping and grinding with me?
Yes. Yes, Magic Mike.
You have a lot more hair.
Yeah, I got a little thing on the back there, huh?
Yeah.
I have so many jokes I could say right now. I'm like debating, like, am I allowed to or not?
Go ahead, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll wait for the next opportunity.
All right.
Christmas is around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has assassinated your happiness of Nebraska football
for 4 years.
Yeah, he has.
And I'm talking about not just he's also like taking me to the edge of death and then brought me back to life a couple of times with maybe I'm going to live, but poof, then he shoots me.
Yes. You'll see a common theme.
Over and over.
You'll see a common theme in these names. Number 4, Dan Mullen, recruiting assassin.
Yeah, that was a dumb thing, huh?
Man, he's ripped. Yeah, I don't follow Florida recruiting closely enough to know just how bad the complaints really are, how valid they really are. Like, obviously, they're not recruiting to the level that Florida fans feel they should be. And, I don't know how you go about fixing that. I don't know what his, there was the one clip from his press conference where he talked about recruiting. The guy asked him a question. He blew him off and was like, we'll talk about recruiting when it's time for recruiting or whatever. I don't think he handled that very well. He had a valid point about not wanting to focus on that in the moment, but he just handled it terribly. And, I mean, it's been interesting to see that seat that he's on get a little hotter and hotter. And, I don't know. I think he's just handled this terribly, quite frankly.
Absolutely. And the chief rival he has in the SEC, Georgia, is the team that's recruiting better than anybody right now. So, number 3, Gary Patterson, sanity assassin.
Yeah. Oh my God. Paul, where did you get these pictures?
This is on my staff of Hayden Bumpus. He did this.
So explain this one to me.
Get on those
the whole
sites?
sanity part of this.
So, Gary Patterson is not a sane person. He goes off on these rails. He's very much get out of my yard kind of a guy.
Okay.
Blocking people on Twitter. So that's why.
All right.
Yeah. So he's
nice leotard.
Yeah.
Wonder if he's dancing to his own music.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, no, but you can't
be a slower dance around.
You can't
the
use
pole,
that against
probably.
him, though. You can't use that. No. You can't play that.
Yeah, no. All right, number 2, Will Muschamp, his offensive coordinator assassin.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Absolutely.
God,
Will Muschamp, great defensive teams. Offensive teams were in, I'm surprised there were some South Carolina teams that didn't average negative yards for the season.
If they could.
Yeah.
Well, you can.
I mean, it'd be tough.
Okay.
It'd be tough. But
I just saw a tweet from TCU football, by the way. I guess they took a big team picture, and Gary Patterson's out of practice. So he's helping them get ready.
He would
apparently
lose a body part. He would rather lose his left body thing if he could beat Baylor.
Yeah. All right. And number 1, Urban Meyer, career assassin.
Yeah.
Yes, no doubt. No doubt.
Damn, Urban looks pretty hot right there.
To each their own.
Is that
but,
Michael Phelps?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not looking that hard, but he's kind of faded from the conversation, hasn't he? He went from being there in Jacksonville and having issues, and obviously not a very good football team, and even people expecting him to probably be gone sooner rather than later, and quite frankly, there's been so many other stories that have just taken his place. He is a bit of a career assassin. I mean, a good football coach like that's always going to probably be able to find an opportunity, but it does feel like he's pretty much run out of all his magic wishes. I don't know, if Jacksonville's not in the cards for very much longer, I don't know where he would go next, honestly. I mean, I don't think it's as simple as like going and just taking the USC job or something along those lines.
Well, but we said that before, and he ended up at Jacksonville, so there's always something that opens for him.
Yeah, incompetent ownership in Jacksonville. I mean, he was just trying to pop a crowd, basically. That they just, when has Jacksonville made smart decisions? I mean, hardly ever.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the momentum just a couple of years back, and then completely just threw that out the window. And basically everybody ends up leaving from Jalen Ramsey to whoever you want to mention. So yeah, I mean, you're right. He always seems to land on his feet, but I just don't know there's many more landing spots for him. But there will always be somebody to take a chance on a guy like that because he can win them football games. But yeah, he has definitely done a lot of self damage to his career.
Yep, I agree. All right, Paul.
What a collage we have there.
Yeah. I like that Smokey's head is just
Scott Frost out. Looks really into it, by the way.
Of all of them, Scott Frost he's hip, maybe
well, he looks the most
younger.
like how he actually would probably could look. The skin tone's a little off, but I mean, it looks pretty. It looked like it could be Scott Frost if you weren't really paying close attention.
He's about to have a lot of time to do that. Good chance he might start doing that on the side.
He did come out of Florida, which is the strip club capital of the earth.
Yeah. So. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's like every week you have to remind me about Nebraska football and how much of a dumpster fire.
No follow-up on the pole assassin controversy, by the way. I haven't seen much since, deleted tweets and whatnot. I'm not sure what's going on there, but apparently they have a Josh Moore issue to handle right now. So.
Oh, okay. You do? One of the things about Hayden now, you got to go use that Avast or whatever you have to clean your computer after getting on those sites that you got on to get those stripper pollers, whatever you want to call them. Armstrong Sims, also for Jack McKenzie and Hayden Bumpus, for Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. Thank you for watching. The chat room exploded today. Also, the phone calls and text lines for our great sponsors every day. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.